1 2 1 2. Hey yo, AC. 1 2 1 2. Mic check. Hey, can y'all hear me out there? Against all odds. 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 Against all odds.
All right. Hey, welcome into the Monday morning version of the Rise and Grind Morning Show. Today, we're going to be covering a little bit of linebackers, but we're going to do a little bit different this time. We're going to see what AI said. And then we're also going to take a look at some of the other sites around the league and see where they're projecting these linebackers to be. I will drop my official linebacker ranking on the Detroit Football Journal later on today. And then, obviously, edge rushers tomorrow. We're going to finally capitalize. We're going to finally put a cap on the edge rusher conversation tomorrow. I've already put out 6 through 10. 1 through 5 will also drop today. So we can have a good conversation on that tomorrow. Not a whole lot on a Monday, man. Things are starting to slow down a little bit before the draft. At the same time, they're starting to heat up in a little bit of different areas. But we're going to talk about a little NFL news. Prizes. We got prizes and giveaways and raffles. Yesterday, we'll be highlighting all of that this morning. And then also Kyron Lacey news, how that affects some of the Lions players. Obviously, the NFL, another major tragedy. Heart obviously goes out to the Kyron Lacey family, friends, former teammates. Flacco went to the Browns. Why is that important? And then Hendon Hooker, again, really? How about the Browns' mess at offensive line contracts, something that I dug up over the weekend. Aiden Hutchinson news, it's not what you think it is. And Levi O getting married. So those are going to be our topics this morning. And then, of course, getting into linebacker rankings. Let me get Eric in here real quick here. Good morning, Eric.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going good, man. How are you? Long journey for both of us yesterday, but I think you got in a little later than I did.
Yeah, last night was something else. But hey, had a great time at the Panther game yesterday. Got to be on the sidelines the entire game, go wherever I wanted, and took a lot of really great pictures and videos, and get to use those videos now in the Panther podcast. So it's going to be really awesome.
Yeah, man. I didn't get a chance, obviously, to do Panthers yesterday, but I was handling donations and went and met with Pro Sports Zone owner John Yu, again, a great partner, friend of the show. And again, this year he stepped up to help out the show in a big way. I'm going to go grab some of the things that we'll be highlighting for not only the draft, but some giveaways, some raffles and stuff to help Rockhound Cancer Foundation. But what an amazing partnership it is with Pro Sports Zone and John Yu. If you guys have not been in there, please go check out Pro Sports Zone in Livonia. They have 2 massive stores in that, was it Laurel Creek Hill or something like that mall? I can't remember now. Terrible this morning, I know. It's Monday. So go check him out. I'll be doing some advertising, for him. Obviously, he's got some signings coming up May 10th, Ennis Rakestraw. So if you want to send your items in, you've got to get it in soon. If you want to have it autographed, only $39 for Ennis Rakestraw. And then, of course, he will have items in the store for you to purchase that day, which is what I would recommend. Go visit John Yu, get your items, get your Ennis Rakestraw signatures on May 10th. I should be there, and we'll make a day of it. So good morning to everybody in the chat. Looks like we're going to have a light day today, but that's okay. Eric, if you don't mind, run through the chat for us real quick. I'm going to go grab some of these items.
All right. So let's see who got in this morning. We have Trace, Mike P, myself, Estella Eves. Maureen is in this morning. Warren King, Jason Wagner, Brandy Coffee, Roxanne Rittman. Let's see. Brian Willand, Michael Garrity. What's up, Michael? Derek Lewis, RP, Adam Gikowski, and Motown Mitch. Welcome in, everybody. Glad to see we have some people in this morning. A couple of them I haven't seen in a while. Looks like Will's got a whole bunch of goodies there from Pro Sports Zone in Livonia.
All right, I'm back. Are you done?
Yep.
Okay. So, first and foremost, we've got a newbie this year. So, we've got Derek Barnes. Derek Barnes, original, obviously, Lions helmet there, but Derek Barnes mini helmet. Thought that was a cool one. We've got an original Chris Spielman on the old school helmet. Like the old school look, man. I love this one. I love that one. And then I could not make out this signature. I had to text John last night and be like, I just can't make it out because I don't have anything from this guy. David Montgomery. David Montgomery on what would have been our new helmet a couple years ago, but I've never seen his signature before, I guess. It's wild, man. It just looks like a bunch of scribble. But it has certificate of authenticity. All of them do, so you know it's real. And I think the highlight, I mean, not only, some of the other items, but, I mean, future potential Hall of Famer, Kirby Joseph, mini helmet. And we're going to match that up with, I mean, this is the coolest football I think I've ever seen. I guess I just haven't had a Lions football in a while, but Kirby Joseph signed football. Now, this is like etched in there. It's not like a sticker. This is all etched in there into the leather. Really cool football, man. Love it. Kirby Joseph. So these two, I think I'm going to put together as a raffle. Obviously, that'll go up today. Well, we took pictures last night. We'll get it up today. And then, obviously, the some of the bigger items is this. Aiden Hutchinson, which a lot of us are hoping are going to be the comeback player of the year this year. Here's what I'm going to do. We're going to do at least 4 Aiden Hutchinson jerseys. Now, I know I said I wasn't going to do any more jerseys because 2 tickets to opening day is incredible. It's an extremely expensive package to be able to give away tickets. Opening day, they're no less than $300, $400, $500 a piece. So I'll be giving away 2 of those, and then we should have 2 more, hopefully donated by the Lions, which we'll know of later this week. Shouldn't be a problem, but that's the plan. So I might be giving 2 packs of the tickets away on opening day. Obviously, you'll get them close to opening day, right? Tickets don't even get released here for a while. So 4 Aiden Hutchinson jerseys. We've got these items here. A couple other mini helmets. What else do we have? Oh, grab bags. So the grab bags, we've got Lions t-shirts. We're going to have Rocked On merch. I don't know if Eric's doing anything, but we'll be doing all sorts of stuff in these grab bags. And we're just going to have fun with it. We're going to be giving them away. We're still trying to nail down what Radio Row is going to look like for us and how cramped we might be. But it is what it is. We've got some emails out to kind of see what our space is going to look like. So we may not obviously bring the items with us, but we'll post them up so that they're available. You can see them online and know what you're looking at. But do us a favor, and once these get posted, share the crap out of it. Like, we need to get 1,000 people in this live stream on draft night. Like that. Last year we had like 400 or 500. My first year I had like 400 or 500. Last year it wasn't as much, but this year we need to get like 1,000 people. And last year I was at the draft, so it's not like we didn't spend a lot of time doing the live streams. I've got to come up with a way, Eric, to somehow like link some of these giveaways in a unique way. Like, I don't know. Do we do like an Aiden Hutchinson sack watch?
I don't know.
You know what I mean? Like, you give us your guess on how many sacks he has, or if he does get comeback player of the year award.
Mm-hmm.
Do we give away even more jerseys? We double it at the end of the season.
Ooh, there you go.
You know what I mean? I think that would be great. So, I don't know. I'll be playing with it this week and try to figure it out. But anyway, welcome into the Rise and Grind Morning Show. Obviously, you're home for NFL news daily. Detroit Lions news and rumors daily. And then, of course, our takes, my takes, Eric's fan takes, you name it. Plan for this upcoming draft is Superfan Summit on Friday. So if you are going to the draft, there is a site that I can share with you if you'd like to participate in the Superfan Summit. I think it's $85 right now to get in. Obviously, the more donations more people that we can get, more Lions fans that we can get there, the better. That help, it's going to help out some local foundations and charity work. So if you're looking for that information, I will post it up today in the YouTube, the Twitter. I'll probably even throw it up in a Detroit Football Journal article, so you guys know what's going on. So, kind of off today, man. Both of us traveled a lot yesterday. We're gonna try to limp through it. As far as next week goes, well, after the draft, Eric's gonna be off for a week. He's got some business things to handle. I'll probably take a day off at least after the draft so I can kind of recoup. But leading up to the draft, I think we leave on Tuesday, right? Is that still the plan?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, so if we're leaving on Tuesday, then probably won't have a show on Monday. Or if we do, it'll be very, very quick. Because Tuesday is going to be a long day of travel. So this could be it for the week. We'll try to get out as much as we can. All right, what do you want to start with?
It'll be next Tuesday.
Yeah, next Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yep. So we did our prizes, at least what we know, what we're doing so far. NFL news to kind of kick it off right away. This is tough news, man. This is really, really tough news with Kyron Lacey. Let me bring this up here. This is the stuff, man, we hate to talk about, but at the same time, I think that it needs to be talked about, right? Needs to be. Let's get into the headlines. Maybe. I'm getting there. Slowly, but I'm getting there. Obviously, it's not breaking anymore, but hey, that's just a stinger. So yesterday, obviously, the news came out that the former LSU wide receiver Kyron Lacey had passed away at the young age, man, of 24 years old. This was confirmed by an LSU official and obviously CBS Sports on Sunday. That according to the Harris County Sheriff's Office in Houston, Texas, police were originally called to investigate a disturbance involving Lacey where he had allegedly discharged a weapon into the ground during an argument with a family member. Lacey was not on scene when police, when police arrived, but they were able to track down his vehicle, which led to a chase across several miles. The car that Lacey was driving eventually crashed, but when police approached the vehicle and attempted to make an arrest, they discovered that Lacey had died from an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound. I will warn you, obviously, this information it's tragic, right? It's not good stuff to hear. But let me give you a quote. LSU spokesperson told ESPN, quote, "We're saddened to learn of the tragic passing of former LSU football student athlete Kyron Lacey. Our thoughts and prayers are with his family and loved ones, as well as his former teammates and coaches impacted by his passing," end quote. And I would echo that same sentiment. Rockhound Detroit Lions, Rockhound Podcast Network is always trying to, highlight the great things that go on in the NFL and the not so great things. And this is one that this is 2 years in a row now that we've lost somebody, very early, and people that we don't know, but you can feel it in your heart, man. This stuff just kind of pulls at you, and it's affected, the Detroit Lions. Last year there was Dory Jackson, who had relations, obviously, with several Detroit Lions football players, including Terry and Arnold, former teammate, and this year Amik Robertson and Ennis Rakestraw and others. That's just the limited amount of information that we know. So where this all started is the last December, I think it was. Well, I guess according to this article, the charges that he was going to, I guess, start on Monday was the process for his hearing. That on December 17, he was involved in a crash that killed a 78-year-old man and injured 2 others when Lacey was, speeding and then had passed some vehicles, and then that vehicle ended up crashing. So he was charged with negligent homicide and then felony hit and run with death and reckless operation of a vehicle. Quote was this from the Louisiana State Police. As Lacey was illegally passing the other vehicles, the driver of a northbound pickup truck abruptly braked and swerved to the right to avoid a head-on collision with the approaching Dodge. Traveling behind the pickup was a 2017 Kia Cadenza, whose driver swerved left to avoid the oncoming Dodge Charger. As the Kia Cadenza took evasive action to avoid impact with the Dodge, it crossed the center line and collided head-on with a southbound 2017 Kia Sorento, end quote. It was at that moment that I guess that, that individual had passed away, succumbed to his injuries. And this is just not, it's not fun stuff, right? It's heart-wrenching. And these are real, everyday problems that happen just with your everyday Joe Schmo. You've got idiots out on the road making bad decisions for whatever reason. Mr. Lacey was making a bad decision this day and speeding, and it caused an accident that led to a death. And he obviously was going through it mentally. And that's what's been highlighted, over the last many weeks, is that he was possibly allegedly going through some mental health situations. And this is where, Eric, I believe you had found a few quotes about Amik Robertson and Ennis Rakestraw. So if you could pull those up, that would be great.
Yeah.
Let me know when you're ready. The ESPN and NBC Sports, obviously they reported, when Lacey was found dead on Saturday night, and they obviously echoed the same sentiment that, their hearts and thoughts and prayers are with family and loved ones, as well as his former teammates. According to his family, in a Facebook post on Sunday morning, Lacey's father, Kenny Lacey, said that their lives, quote, lives have changed forever and this will never be okay, but God needed my baby more than he was needed here, end quote. Quote, this has to be the biggest pill our families have had to swallow, but I know the love and compassion in our families will get us through, end quote. He also wrote that, quote, this will never get easier, but we'll learn to live with it. And then below here, just a little bit, they mentioned where mental health is real, and for the most part, it's invisible. Don't ignore the signs, even if they may seem small. And I will say the same thing. There's people battle their own demons each and every day, and it is invisible. You could look at somebody and never know. Like you would, if I'll use myself for an example, you could look at me and you would never know the things that I've had to battle, with injuries or cancer or whatever. And that's why I think you need to just treat people with that golden rule, right? Treat them as you would want to be treated, because you never know what someone's going through. And in Kyron Lacey's case, you didn't really know what he was going through unless he told you. So did you find the quotes?
Yeah. So Amik Robertson shared his last text that he had with him, and he wrote, I need you to trust the process and put in God's hands. I know this is a tough time, but my faith high, Robertson wrote on January 11th, presumably referring to Lacey's alleged hit and run case. And then he went on to say, I don't know what happened because I don't want to get into it. But if you are in the wrong, everyone makes mistakes. It's all a learning process. Keep the faith, Brody. I'm always here, right or wrong. So he's just telling him to keep his head up, and he can get through things whether you're right or wrong. And he didn't take Amik Robertson's advice.
It doesn't appear so. Was there something else by Ennis Rakestraw too, or?
Yeah, there was something Ennis. Let me see if I can find that.
At any rate, obviously Amik was in touch with Lacey and, trying to help him any which way he could, which, it speaks volumes to the type of individuals that, the Lions have in their organization. Trying to keep their feet firmly planted on the ground and help anybody and everybody that they can. I don't know the extent, obviously, of Amik's relationship. I don't know the extent of Ennis's relationship, nor is it any of our business. But, I just want to commend, both Amik and Ennis and anybody else that, obviously tried to help Carmen Lacey.
So Ennis put up a post on Instagram or Facebook, and it says, check on your people. And then it has a picture of Lacey, and it says former LSU wide receiver Kyron Lacey has passed away at 24. So he's just reminding everyone to check on your people.
Yeah, it's great advice. All right. Man, heart goes out to the Lacey family, friends, obviously former teammates. It's not a great situation at all.
Nope.
Not a great situation. Let's talk about Flacco for just a moment. So, in one of my very early mock draft discussions and in a few of the morning shows, we've discussed, where are some of these quarterbacks potentially going to go that, are either on the trade block, the chopping block, free agents, so on and so forth. And I mentioned right away that I said Flacco would be a great addition to the Browns room, and that if you bring in a guy, not only as a veteran mentor to a young potential quarterback that the Browns may select in this year's draft, but also it would help stabilize that room. And stabilizing that room going into 2025, at least as a bridge to kind of get the Browns through a situation where maybe they don't want to take a quarterback at number 2. And I had mentioned how it would make way more sense for them to select what could be the generational talent, which if you believe in the many other analysts' perspectives here where they're saying that there's only 2 blue chippers in this draft, I don't know that I agree with that. But they've put Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter as the only true blue chips in this draft. I don't agree. I would say that there's probably 5, maybe 6 true blue chippers in this draft that are generational style of athletes. I hate using the G word because you get slapped in the face the next year when you find out maybe it wasn't so, but you still got to give these guys a little bit of time to grow in the NFL. But as I had mentioned, I thought Flacco would be a perfect fit in the Browns organization for this season, and over the weekend, Flacco is now a member of the Cleveland Browns. Am I surprised? No, I am not. I am not, because I thought it made perfect sense. Obviously, they thought it made perfect sense too. And now he is obviously the quarterback, which I believe is going to lead that room right away. He's obviously going to battle it out. So I guess my question now to everybody in the chat, comments later on below, is do you think that the Browns take a quarterback at number 2? Or, like I said from the very beginning, you take that player that you know can help you immediately, and then you back into the first round and either grab Jalen Milroe or grab Jackson Dart. You guys know that in my first mock, I had at least 3 quarterbacks going in the first round, and I extended that to 4 quarterbacks by my second and third mock. And it's because I felt that no matter what, it makes perfect sense to trade back as much as you can in this draft so you can trade up later. What's funny, maybe not funny, or the similarities are just funny to me, is the last week and a half, almost every analyst, every 3 and 4 word media company or 4-letter media company is now saying the same exact thing that I said 8 weeks ago, which is multiple teams are going to trade back into this draft, into the first round, to either take Jackson Dart or take Jalen Milroe. That there's going to be at least 3, if not 4 quarterbacks going in the first round. Doesn't mean it's going to happen all in the top 10. But now with the news coming out with Saints quarterback, I'm having a mind blank right now.
Derek Carr.
Carr, my bad. Derek Carr with a shoulder injury. Well, now, that just makes everything even all that more promising that you're going to see at least 3 quarterbacks taken in the first round. When you heard the news about Flacco and then Derek Carr, I guess what was your immediate reaction? What were you thinking for the Browns, but possibly the Saints? now, picking, I believe, at number 9.
Yeah, the Browns, it makes sense. And, they had Flacco in year before last. He ended up becoming their starter when Watson went down. He brought them to the playoffs and won a playoff game. So nothing wrong with Flacco, as long as he's still got it at 41 years old. And then with the Saints, I think that just truly opens the door for them to actually take a quarterback in the first round. I don't think they're going to mess around. I think it's probably going to be Shedeur Sanders going to the Saints. If I had to guess, that's where I would guess Shedeur would go after today.
And it's funny because I listened to Todd McShay a little bit last week. I didn't listen to him a ton, but he in the last couple of weeks have been saying some of the same things that I'm saying. I'm not saying these people are watching my show and copying. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that there's similar like minds that I saw it early, and they're addressing it now after they've gotten through all of their processes, which a lot of people like myself that love the draft, that sink a lot of resource and time into the draft. I needed pro days. I needed the combine to be able to get an accurate depiction of what's going to happen potentially in this draft. Well, a lot of guys still held out of combines and pro days, and so we didn't get all of those measurables. But guys like Todd McShay did have contacts, and multiple contacts within every team organization. They're now hearing things that is speaking to exactly this point. Now, I didn't have contacts at the time of making my predictions that I felt like certain teams are going to make some moves, that certain teams are obviously going to be in play. But Shedeur Sanders, he's been dropping below 20 in a lot of mocks, which is crazy. But when some of the most recent mocks that we've done, I can see it. And I can see how so many good football players are slipping into the second round. And that's why every year, which I've got it on the board, the meat of this draft is 26 to 45. There's going to be so many good football players that are dropping into that bucket where you might see the Lions just only have to move up 2 spots or 3 spots to try to get somebody that they really love. I can't remember who's picking at 25, 6. That might be Packers, Vikings, near that, I'm sorry, it might be Packers in that range. So they obviously won't trade with the Packers again. I don't think the Packers are going to entertain us. I think the Lions would probably have to get up to 20 or 21 to be effective if they were going to move up. I just don't see it happening. I think that a trade back makes the most sense. So now, pick 28, I think it's up for conversation. Where the Browns at 33, why wouldn't they want to move back up and take that quarterback that they waited for? Jalen Milroe going to the Browns, I think is probably going to happen. I think that Jackson Dart is going to be off the board before pick 21 to the Steelers. So I hate to say I told you so, but I told you so if it happens. I'm just saying. I think that it's going to screw up the draft, and you're going to see a lot of movement because of it, which could help the Lions. So this is a good thing. It has me all giddy inside just thinking that there's going to be some teams making some moves, and there's going to be even better football players dropping to the Lions, and they may not have to do a darn thing, which is good because they can stand pat or move back and completely knock this draft out of the park, which I don't know about you, Eric, but you want to see the Lions have an extremely successful draft in Green Bay.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I just want to see us fill a few holes and take the best players we can possibly take. That's it. And the only two positions I want to see them take is the defensive lineman and an edge. Other than that, whoever's the best player available, take them. Exactly.
So a couple of new names in here that I haven't seen before. Not to say that you haven't been in here before, but Andrew Isham has a question about when does the draft start. So that's April 24th, 7 p.m. Central Time in Green Bay is when the draft officially kicks off. We will be starting, obviously, before that. The goal is to do the morning show and then come back and do obviously the draft coverage. Now, I have been reaching out to multiple creators again, like I do every year, and trying to stack the deck so that the first hour is going to involve multiple creators coming in to give us their takes on not only their team, but their analysis for the draft. I have a few locked up. Those are going to be surprises on the day of the draft. So make sure that you're in and in early and get everybody else in with you. If you want a chance to win some of these amazing prizes, you have to be in the draft with us, having some fun. So there was another question in here. Let's see. Let me go back here. Oh, I'm sorry. It really wasn't a question. It was a statement. Zachary Cleary, you're right. I totally screwed up this morning. Huge congratulations to the Western Michigan Broncos, my dad's alma mater, for knocking it out the park. And, I mean, they took down the national championships in hockey. So big congratulations to them, man. It's always nice to see a hometown team getting it done. I did not have a chance to watch the game. I caught the last few minutes as I was driving home. I could listen to it. And, yeah, just an epic win, not only for Michigan, state of Michigan, but Western Michigan, man. It's I don't know if they've ever won it before. I don't think they have.
No, it was first time ever.
Yeah. So pretty cool stuff, man. Pretty cool stuff. So thank you, Zachary, for reminding us this morning. What else is going on in here this morning?
Well, we got a little bit of NFL news. The Bears break the bank at cornerback. So according to ESPN, the Bears have reached agreement on a 3-year, $40 million extension that includes $31.25 million guaranteed with cornerback Kyler Gordon. Adam Schefter reports that the deal now makes Gordon the NFL's highest paid slot corner and contractually ties him to Chicago through the 2028 season. So could you imagine if we gave Amik Robertson a 3-year, $40 million extension? It'd break us.
Who's saying this?
So Adam Schefter reported this.
That Amik is looking to get one, or the Lions are in conversation?
No. I said, could you imagine, Amik demanding that kind of money? We could never afford it, not with the salaries that we have.
Well, thankfully, he's under contract this year. I don't think that that's going to cause an issue. Now, next year, obviously, it could, but I think that, Amik's all but gone next year. That's just my take. I'm sorry, it's not a glorious take, but the Lions have Ennis Rakestraw for a reason. They're also going to probably draft another corner in this year's draft for a reason. That's because they're trying to get young at the position. As expensive as corners are right now, you're going to see Brad taking more corners in every single draft. He's built the trenches. He's going to address it again this year, and you're going to see them stick to the plan, which is staying young. They're going to have, at least one guy at each positional group that probably has a max deal. And that's it. The rest are going to be on rookie deals, and he's going to draft these guys, in my opinion, using the roster roulette, which is what I developed. They probably call it something different, but it's how you manage your cap. It's how you manage your draft picks. It's how you manage your roster to have an elite guy that's getting paid at some point and other elite guys backfilling that player so that you always have another one in the hopper, right? You have another one that's developing. So I know that Broderick Martin is not a name that Lions or fans are extremely excited about, but you just have to remember, if he didn't have his knee injury last year, he's a guy that was developing and having a really good second-year breakout. He could have been a really good rotational piece for us last year. So when you think about guys like DJ Reader, you have to have someone behind him. I think the Lions draft that nose tackle. I think there's really good nose tackles in this draft this year. So probably looking at a guy that's 320 pounds plus to back up Reader and also back up Broderick, but will probably be better than Broderick, and Broderick's going to have to fight for a chance. But that's why they bring in Roy Lopez. So I know I'm getting off on a tangent, but that's what roster roulette's all about. Bringing in guys that are proven, 5 years in the league. Roy Lopez, he'll be able to back up Reader, no problem. Broderick Martin, you don't know what we have yet. If he is what we think he could be, it's just a good rotational player. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with developing guys to be good rotational players. But now you need to think about the next guy. You also have a Lee McNeil down, and you need another guy to back him up. Well, Levi is that guy. But who do you have after Levi? it's kind of thin for the Lions when you think of the future. So I would expect that the Lions are going to do something, if not once, probably twice. Give me just a second. I keep getting a phone call here. I don't know who it is.
So Brandy Coffee's giving us all a little nudge here. She says we have only 17 likes and we have 71 people watching. So if everyone could just take a second, hit that like button, it really helps the channel and helps gets those ads off. So we don't have to listen to ads through the whole show. Once we get to 75 likes, we turn them off. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If you are not subscribed, make sure you do, because the only way you can win a free pair of tickets to the Detroit Lions home opener is to subscribe to the channel. Once we hit 10,000 likes, we are going to give away a pair of tickets to the Detroit Lions home opener at Ford Field, and you don't want to miss that.
Hey, speaking of tickets, have a little bit more work to do, but it sounds like we might have some game packs for the Panthers.
Yep.
That we're going to be able to give away, which we'll use as, some draft day giveaways. But look, we need to put butts in seats for Panthers games, and we want to help out the Panthers as much as possible. So not only are we going to try to give away as many seats as possible, but I'm going to, Eric started the groundwork here, and I'm going to start to reach out to our contact and see if we could do something special, like a crazy, last game of the year giveaway. We can get as many people in as possible, with a thought process. Obviously you're going to go buy a hot dog and a drink or popcorn and support the Panthers or a shirt or something. So we'll work on that, but look for some game day or game ticket giveaways also on draft night.
So there was a little bit of an uptick for the Michigan Panthers last night. So there was a little over 1,000 more people at the stadium yesterday. So the official attendance for last night was 11,013, and last week it was 10,049. So we had about 1,000 more people in the door, and you could really tell the difference at the stadium. The stands behind the Michigan Panther bench actually looked pretty darn full, and the concourse, there was just people everywhere. And it was Kids Day, so there was tons of kids there, and it was really fun and amazing to see.
The only thing that I would say, look, I don't know on your tickets, does it say general admission for the Panthers?
No.
They're assigned seats?
Yeah.
I mean, I would ask them, like just group everybody together. Like, put them all, between, the 40s, I guess, and fill it up, make it look better and drive that voice, and the cheering and everything so that it's all one big group. But so earlier we were talking about quarterback moves, and once again, Hendon Hooker is thrown out to the wolves of the media as trade bait to the Saints. I'm not saying that Brad wouldn't do something, if there was a real possibility to get, some value back for Hendon Hooker. But let's be honest for a moment. Hendon was brought in as a third-round draft pick. Okay, Brad moved around in that draft 2 seasons ago, made some good moves, which allowed him to obviously take a risk with that 5th pick and a developmental prospect. Look, Hendon he's not even worth a third-round pick right now, and I don't mean that negatively. I'm simply stating that he hasn't played. He hasn't shown enough of what he can do or who he really is yet. And I think that's by design. I think that the Lions obviously are not showcasing him. But at the same point, he just hasn't been developed long enough. So is Hendon worth anything from a massive trade standpoint? Absolutely not. He's not. Otherwise, it would have been done. It would have been done. I doubt that the Lions are even getting a lot of, calls about Hendon Hooker. Outside of, maybe a future 7th round pick, which is what he's probably worth right now. He's not worth a 3rd. Definitely not worth anything higher, in my opinion, than a 5th. So why would you want to take a risk at losing a potential really good quarterback backup who's on an extremely cheap contract? Teddy Bridgewater won't be on the roster this year. If anything, he's a late year addition again, but something's telling me that that ship has probably sailed. And that's why the Lions are bringing in players right now to make sure that they have enough depth. So the option here is for the Saints. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think that there's a world that we live in that it's even possible. But this now speaks to me that I think that this is Kirk Cousins' landing spot. The question is, will the Falcons trade to a division rival? And the answer is possibly, right? Possibly. It's unlikely, that many teams would want to trade to a division rival. But then again, to unload that contract on a division rival makes more sense, doesn't it? I mean, why wouldn't you want to stick them with a high bill? So Atlanta obviously didn't value Cousins enough to keep him in the lineup for even a full season. $180 million contract he's now in year 2 of. If the team can squeeze anything of value out of the NFC South foe for a damaged asset, it would be a trade. It would be a trade to the Saints. The Saints obviously need a quarterback. Kellen Moore obviously needs something under center, and I think that Cousins provides that. His contract is not crazy expensive. Derek Carr obviously has gone from disgruntled to injured, a shoulder injury that apparently just creeps up all of a sudden that he needs surgery on. Like, where were they in this process before the draft? Why didn't he get this handled in the offseason? Something doesn't sit right here with me. So I think that the best play here is to offload Cousins to the Saints. This was not an option right before, the weekend, where I thought that Cousins was going to also make some sense possibly to the Browns. But now I think it makes even more sense that Cousins is going to end up being a Saint in 2025. Probably happen on draft night is what I'm expecting. You could see something happen between now and then, but Cousins has a no trade clause. So it's up to him where he wants to go. And right now he's not playing. So why wouldn't he want to go somewhere? I would get the heck out of Dodge and go be with the team that wants me to play for him. Any thoughts on Cousins to the Saints for you?
I think that's more plausible than Hooker to the Saints, honestly. All these Hooker to here, Hooker to there, Lions going to trade Hooker. I just think that's all a pipe dream. And now Cousins, on the other hand, that's a real possibility, because the Saints, they've got a brand new coach in Kellen Moore, brand new coaching staff. They're turning a team around. What a perfect place for Kirk Cousins to go and ride off into the sunset. So I truly believe that that's more of a fit for Kirk Cousins than the Browns or anywhere else. And Kirk Cousins' possibilities are getting less and less and less as the days go by of where he could possibly go. In my opinion, I really think that Kirk Cousins is just going to stay put. He's just going to have to stay and play behind Penix.
Yeah, one other, and I would agree with all that. One other bit of news that broke over the weekend, which kind of broke local media outlet, internet, if you will, was Zadarius Smith. So Zadarius Smith was spotted at the Detroit Pistons game over the weekend, and obviously it started to spark a lot of conversation that, oh my goodness, he's coming back. The Lions are working on something. The answer, I would say, is yes and no. Are they working on something? They have been in contact with his agent. Number one, but number two, the big thing here is he is dating a local rapper by the name of Kash Doll, and they appeared obviously at the game together, and that's all that it is. It wasn't for anything more that we know of at this point. That it was just that they were out at a basketball game together. Obviously, Zadarius has not been signed by anybody else, so that even stoked the flames, I think, a little bit higher. But let's not read into it any more than what it is right now. So if anyone's out there pumping the clickbait, it's just that. It's just clickbait. Zadarius Smith just having fun at a basketball game with his girlfriend. Anything for you on that one? And then let's break into the Aiden Hutchinson news.
Yeah, I think the whole Zadarius Smith, if he was going to resign, it'd have been done. So I'm guessing they're waiting till after the draft. And then the Lions might just be like, yeah, even at a cheaper price, I don't think we're going to need you right now. So Zadarius might be sitting around till training camp or after training camp waiting for someone to get injured. So just stay in shape, Zadarius. You never know. We might need you.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is too. Is a lot of these teams are going to wait and see what they do in the draft, especially for the Lions. If they end up with 1 or 2 edge rushers, yeah, there's no room. There's no room at all. But if they end up with 1 or 2 edge rushers in the draft, and then they have some injuries in training camp, now there's room. And if you can bring him in, $8-9 million for one season, yeah, it's worth it. I think that it wasn't worth it at $16 million, which was $11 million this year and 5.25, whatever it was next year, for not being on the roster. And I think that it makes sense to get him at half that rate for one season. Absolutely. But I think it's a wait till after the draft kind of deal, which happens a lot with some of the priority free agent signings, is they wait till after the draft to see what teams need them, right? Where do they still have holes, and where can their agent go in and sell these teams to say, you need my guy. And that's because you have these holes on your roster. You need my guy. That's what usually happens. It's just sales tactics. Speaking of the Browns a minute ago, we'll get into Aiden Hutchinson in just 1 second. So I was doing some research, getting ready for draft night. I'm compiling all of my draft notes to be able to talk about every team, and I'm breaking down the rosters. And so that obviously might take me away from doing some content right now, but it is what it is. The draft is the most important thing right now. So I went deep, obviously, with the Browns, because they're picking second. And I found something. And obviously you'll hear this on draft night too, but the Browns are not just in trouble, with quarterback contracts. They're in trouble on the offensive line. And right now, I'm not so sure that they don't take an offensive lineman in the draft. And I'm not going to give you all my nuggets right now, but for something's telling me that, yeah, they would love to have Abdul Carter on the opposite end of Myles Garrett. They would love to have a Travis Hunter, shoring up the cornerback room, but also being able to play wide receiver. But something tells me that they're going to need some offensive linemen. And what is telling me that? Well, the contracts are telling me that. So why wouldn't they want to try to trade back if they could, still grab what could be considered, a blue chipper? If they could stay in the top 5-6 picks, they can do that. And depending on how screwed up this draft gets with quarterbacks, they could still end up with Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter at 5 or 6. So here's what I looked at. Joel Bitonio, left guard, and right guard Wyatt Teller. Well, Wyatt is 31. Joel is 34 and a half. Wyatt is going to be a free agent in 26, and so is Joel. Wyatt actually just redid his contract to make sure he's going to be a free agent in 26. Combined, both of these guys are going to make $29 million this season, combined. In next year, if they are on the roster this year past June 1st, the Browns will have a dead cap of $32 million. $61 million for 2 very old guards. Who on earth is paying $30 million for a guard in 2025? Nobody. This is crazy numbers. Now, I know it's an escalation from the contracts that they had signed, and obviously the option bonuses and everything else that are hitting them. If they don't do a June 1 or prior to June 1 release, cut, trade, whatever, they are on the hook for $32 million next year. So if you don't think the Browns are not going to be taking, or if you don't think the Browns are taking an offensive guard, offensive tackle in this draft, you better think again. They're going to do it. They're going to have to do it. And if they don't, I think it just speaks even more volumes to the ineptitude of that franchise. Now, they did bring in Tevin Jenkins this year, and they have Zach Zinter that they brought in last year's draft. Now, Zach obviously is that undersized, guard at this point, playing, back up on the right side. Tevin Jenkins, actually from the Chicago Bears, I think he's going to step in and compete right away for Wyatt Teller. I think that he's going to take that job. To Bitonio on the left side. I think he's going to absolutely take that job. Bitonio will be gone. I don't see a clear path for the Browns to be able to keep both of these guys. Maybe they keep one and they take the big cap hit next year, but they can't keep both. There's just no way. They're up against it. So I think that right now you're going to see the Browns definitely wanting to take a guard, and they could do it in the 3rd or 4th round. They absolutely could. There's a lot of tackles in this draft that have short arms, and those tackles are now going to become guards. So I don't know if I clipped something over the weekend. I don't know if it actually shared. I'm going to look right now. I don't know if it actually shared to my posts, but it was Garofalo that talked about T-Rex arms over the weekend. And I just thought it was hilarious because I've never heard of anyone say T-Rex arms but me before. Have you ever heard it anywhere else, Eric?
No.
No?
No.
I've lost your audio there. It's like underwater again. I don't know why.
Strange. Yeah, your video went really dark too.
Yeah, I dialed it back. Is it extremely dark?
No, I just saw it going. All of a sudden, it was.
Let me take a look here because I was trying to dial. It was like way overexposed.
Oh, gotcha.
I think I bumped my camera and bumped some settings. Oh, it looks okay on my phone. So anyway, I just have never heard anyone say T-Rex arms before because I used to say it about Aiden Hutchinson, all the time. And then I started using it for offensive linemen, especially the tackles that, I don't know. I've kind of used it around all positions that if they have shorter arms compared to what should be the consensus arm length for that position, I've just never heard it before. I was cracking up. It doesn't look like it shared, though. So I'm going to have to figure out where it shared to. Because I clipped it and then shared it, but I don't know where it went. So, anything you want to add on the Browns?
No, I think I'm good on the Browns. I think they're pretty set with the way things are going to happen. I really truly believe they're going to either have to trade back or they're just going to have to take whoever the best defensive player is. If Abdul Carter falls in their lap, they're just going to have to take him at number 2.
Well, I think that if the consensus is correct, Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter will absolutely be on the board for them at number 2. 1,000%.
Yeah.
1,000%. So it's do you want to trade back to number 4 or number 5 or number 6 if you could find a trade partner and be able to still select one of the blue chippers, which I think, yeah, it's a roll of the dice, but you know what? So is any of these athletes in the draft. They're all a roll of the dice. You have no idea what they're going to be at the next level. All right, let's get into Aiden Hutchinson, then we're going to break into the linebacker conversation. So over the weekend, we saw this. We saw this dude, and everyone was talking about Detroit Lions receive major Aiden Hutchinson injury news. A lot of clickbait. Just a lot of clickbait about Aiden. This is no different than what we discussed over a week ago. But he was at the Masters, and Aiden Hutchinson and the Detroit Lions were Super Bowl contenders last season, at least according to this article. According to us, obviously, we felt that we would have been had we stayed healthy. But he broke his leg, during the Dallas game, and then he was fighting back through rehab, and some thought that he was going to be able to play in the Super Bowl, which I think Eric and I both agree that that was just a lot of fluff. It was probably never going to happen, even if they made it. But even without Aiden last year, we ripped off 15 wins. We lost, obviously, in a very bad way to the Commanders. But early on in the offseason, Detroit received some good news. I'm not going to say major news, but we received good news. Aiden was progressing well, but this whole story was blown way out of proportion. So while making an appearance at the Masters, Aiden revealed where he's currently at in his recovery process. So let's not take this out of context. He simply said this, quote, "I'm there. I'd say I'm good. I've got my last evaluation tests when I get back. I leave today. I go back tomorrow to the rehab. I'm going to finish those evals, and once I knock them out of the park, I'll be on my way and done with rehab. It was a long process. I'll tell you that," end quote. Aiden Hutchinson was giving the, quote, "all clear," end quote. Obviously, that's a huge statement, but this is nothing different than what we've been talking about. It's nothing's changed with Aiden Hutchinson over the last couple of weeks. He's just done with rehab. That's it. He still has a long way to go. You know, the rehab's good. That means now you're medically cleared to do whatever you want to do. Obviously, he was running around in the video from last week, looked great, doing a little bit of weave, you know, putting a little bit of pressure on that leg, in and out. So this just means that Aiden's ready to go. What did you take away from this, Eric? And then how much of the clickbait did you see over the weekend?
Yeah, it's just clickbait. That's exactly what it is. And he's just at the end of his rehab. So he won't be going to the rehab center anymore. He'll be just doing it on his own. I've been out of rehab for 3 months now on my shoulder, and my shoulder still bothers me every single day. I still have to do my arm exercises every single day. Otherwise, it's not going to get better. So he's just going to have to keep doing it on his own. I'm sure he knows all of the exercises that he needs to be doing. I'm sure he's got a trainer that he's working with every single day on top of the rehab people. So I think they've got it. He's probably just got a routine down now, and there's nothing more that the rehab people can do for him. And once there's no more that the rehab people can do, they just send you on your own to do it yourself. And then it's just a matter of time of healing. You need to heal. I mean, you got to sleep 8 hours a day and heal it up. Otherwise, it's just not going to heal.
I'm wondering if he's doing any cryo or hyperbaric chamber, getting that extra oxygen in you. So yeah, your internet must have a little bit of an issue. I was just checking the video on YouTube. It's not just my screen.
No, want me to pop out and back in?
Yeah, I don't think that's the issue. I think it's your internet. I think something's wrong, latency wise. But that started last week, so yeah, it could just, I don't know if you've refreshed in a while, reset your modem, router, all that good stuff. But
yeah.
All right, let's get into linebackers. If you want to drop out and drop in, go ahead and do it. But
here, we'll try that real quick and see if that works.
All righty.
All right.
Okay, so we're going to jump into what PFF is saying about, some of these linebackers, and then I'll give you my consensus top 10 when we're done. Today is really just highlighting, the linebacker group. Let me see if I can get everything in here real quick. One slight adjustment here, and we'll get rolling. So tell me in the chat, obviously in the comments below, who is your number one linebacker in this draft? And I know it's a little bit different this year because we have a lot of linebackers and edge that are kind of mixed. Like the edge group this year has plenty of 3-4 linebackers that are mixed in. Like, for instance, Mike Green, definitely a 3-4 outside linebacker. You kind of have to take into consideration, where they played in college, but where do they fit at the next level based on their ability? And I guess what we've noticed so far from tape, everybody else's mocks and comps, and tape is the main thing. And obviously body size. Height, weight, speed makes a big difference for linebackers. And the most important difference is going to be whether or not they have coverage ability. If they don't have any coverage ability, then they're probably not going to be a linebacker, right? Especially in a 3-4 system. But if they've shown to have really good coverage ability, then I think that that's where a lot of these guys are going to end up being 3-4 outside linebackers. So I mentioned it early on that like Mike Green, Jalen Walker, he was kind of the edge linebacker, and others. I mean, I see like half of the edge market as 3-4. You could see some guys end up as inside linebackers at the next level, which is okay too. I don't think that we need to, be cookie cutter with it and just box these guys in. I think that what a good football team is going to do is find the best fitment for their football player. And if that happens to be, you played, outside the tackle edge in college, but now you're an off-ball linebacker because you've shown to have really good coverage ability. Maybe your size is not exactly what we need in a 4-3 system, which again, I think that that's the most important detractor is size. If you don't have the size, you're not going to be a 4-3 defensive end. All right, welcome back.
Yeah, hopefully this is working right now.
No, it's still the same, but is what it is. Okay, so PFF, let's get into it. And no, thank you guys for getting the ads off. So we have like 63 likes, only 75 in today. So it's kind of a light day. But you guys do a great job each and every morning by getting the likes up. I would only stress that the quicker we get the likes up, the quicker we get the ads off. So first one, at least the consensus so far really was Jelon Walker. Now PFF has Jihad Campbell as number one, where they say that Campbell has the ideal build and athletic ability to play any linebacker spot, but he projects best to a Mike or Sam linebacker in a 4-3 scheme or a Mike edge in a 3-4. He must continue to develop anticipation and strength, but he has the mold of an all-pro player. I like that statement because this is probably one of the few that I feel that can really be put anywhere on the football field when it comes to the linebacker position on, both 4-3, 3-4. I think that he mocks well on both sides. Jelon Walker was the number two. So let's start with Jihad Campbell. Eric, what did you have on Jihad Campbell, and then where did you have him in your rankings?
Well, me personally, he's my favorite out of all of them. If I could pick one to go to the Lions, it's Jihad Campbell. He blew it away at the pro day, or not at the pro day, but the combine. And he was one that just really impressed me from watching him during the combine, at least on TV. He's the one that popped off the page, and he's from Alabama. He played at Alabama. So there's another link for Mr. Brad Holmes. And in my opinion, he's my number one. My little list this morning didn't have him on there. I don't know why, but yeah, I'm going to put him as 1A with Jelon Walker.
I'm glad you used the term 1A because I would say if there is two peas in a pod in this year's draft, you could make an argument for Jihad Campbell and Jelon Walker. Jihad Campbell from Alabama, Jelon Walker from Georgia. Obviously, two of the best schools in the South. But since we're talking about Jihad Campbell real quick, let me run it down. He's the consensus number 2 by many. PFF obviously has him as number 1. 6'3", 245 pounds, so he's got great size, good weight. Yes, he could absolutely be a third down specialist in a 4-3 scheme as an edge. I don't see that anywhere near a possibility. I think that he would project best, as a Mike linebacker, maybe as a middle linebacker in a 4-3 system, or as right or left outside linebacker in a 3-4 system. Now, agility at the pro day, dude smashed it. Like he was so fluid. He recorded a solid 4.52 second 40, which I don't think he ran at the pro day. I don't think he ran at the combine. He did that at the pro day. And if he didn't do it at the pro day, now where did I get that measurement? I'd have to go back and look. Somewhere I got the 4.52, which is good for a linebacker. Remember, Brian Branch ran like a 4.5. So his lateral movement, quick reaction, I think that they're very well noted in the film when you watch him. I think that he flips and gets lateral really easily. I think that he tracks the running back well, handling tight ends, and slot receivers. I don't think he really had a problem at all. I don't think there's anyone that he matched up against that he didn't dominate, at least at the point of contact. Doesn't mean that he won every rep, but at some point, you're going to lose a few. You will. Production. In 13 games last season, 117 tackles at Georgia, 11.5 tackles for loss, which is the big one, which means that he's nosing out the play, right? He's finding where this play is going to go. Quickly, he gets to it, makes the tackle. 5 sacks, 3 passes defensed, 1 interception, 2 forced fumbles. Those last 3 things, the 3 passes defensed, the 1 interception, and the 2 forced fumbles, to me, is the most important stat out of everything next to the 11.5 tackles for loss. I would put all that above sacks. I would rather see you get a bunch of tackles for loss and way less sacks. I think that means more on an every down opportunity in the NFL that you can get into the backfield and shut down a play. Sacks are going to come, right? To me, I think that a tackle for loss is still a sack. It's just not the quarterback. Like, does anyone understand that that's the only difference? A tackle for loss is a sack on a running back. A tackle for loss is a sack on a wide receiver behind the line. A sack is just a tackle for loss on a quarterback. So that's why I put tackles for loss, TFLs, much higher on my scouting report evaluation than I would a sack. Strengths. Versatility really stands out for this guy. Like I said earlier, I think that he could fit both 4-3, 3-4, but I see him more projected in a 3-4. Powerful sideline to sideline coverage, ability to blitz in clutch moments. I think that he has really good downhill speed. Change of direction, I think, is fluid. So, if they're running an RPO and, it ends up getting handed off, he tracks that well. Like, he's got a nose, for the football. His strengths, again, I think that the most important thing you're going to see from this guy is how adept he is at sniffing out the play. Football IQ is a big strength of his. I think he's a very cerebral football player. You're going to hear some of the same things about Jelon Walker. And that's why I think that the 2 Ps in a pod, 1A and 1B, or 1A and 1A, is both of those guys. I think that whatever team gets either one, they're going to be just fine. Weaknesses at times, his lateral footwork is a little inconsistent. It can affect his pass coverage reliability. He gets tripped up a little bit. I think that he's more in tune with getting downhill faster. And I think that's where his footwork gets a little bit of a hiccup. He's working on getting, to the ball carrier, right, or after the quarterback, and then he has to change and drop back. And sometimes his footwork will get a little hiccup there. But again, that's technique. I think that he'll be able to work that out. Ideal scheme, like I said, best traditional fit would be a Mike linebacker in a 4-3. He could morph into a 3-4 role, probably a hybrid role in a 3-4. You could have him on the outside. You could put him up on the line and, off ball. You could put him up on the line and get after the passer. I think he's definitely going to be rushing the passer no matter where he's at. Draft projection, obviously first round. This guy he's not going to slip too far. If he gets past pick 15, something really happened in this draft that doesn't make sense. So if he gets past pick 15, I would be really surprised. I don't think that there's an opportunity for the Lions to get him unless they move up. So Jelon Walker. Jelon Walker's next. Let's see what PFF said about Jelon Walker. And obviously in the chat, you guys tell us where you think these guys belong. Okay. Jelon Walker, PFF had him at number 2. Now, this is also good to note here. The big board rank for Jihad Campbell is 10 and 29 for Jelon Walker. Could you imagine Jelon Walker slipping to the Lions?
Yep.
That would be insanity to me. The problem is, does he even fit? I'm sure that they would try to make him fit, but you don't want to have the wrong type of linebacker playing in a wrong scheme. Doesn't mean that he doesn't have the ability. I think that he is very versatile. But anyway, here's PFS breakdown. Walker is a physically and athletically gifted player who presents box presence, versatility as an off-ball linebacker. His anticipation and pass rush profile in its current form are lacking for consistent impact in the NFL. He must improve how he approaches rushing the passer for his off-ball instincts to be worth a top 50 selection due to age and potential. I don't know if I really agree with that a whole lot, but again, this is PFF, and we don't always agree with a lot that they say. I like their ranking systems, and giving us some good ideas. What did you have on Jelon Walker?
Well, that he's only been a 1-year starter in college, and he has work to do as a run defender in terms of reading and reacting. Might solely be a linebacker at the next level due to his size, and he can struggle in man coverage at times, especially in man coverage. So that might be a red flag for the Detroit Lions. They want their guys in man a lot of the time. And I'm guessing even with Kelvin Shepard taking over for Aaron Glenn, that it's going to be a lot of the same as far as man coverage goes.
Oh, yeah. I don't see the Lions stepping away from man coverage. I'm just thinking that, yeah, you can be in man coverage and not blitz a ton. Just because you're in man coverage doesn't mean that you have to blitz. I mean, we ran a lot of cover one last year. And I think that was to the detriment of the football team, but I will digress on that. I won't even go into that right now. So for me, I wrote up a little bit here on Jelon Walker. He's expected to have his private workout on the 17th of April. He's been battling a right quad injury that has kept him from pro day and combine workouts. Phone is going off today. A lot of information. Size and background for this guy, very similar to Jihad Campbell, 6'2", 243 pounds, elite athleticism, earned a first-team All-America honors in his senior season. Production over the last 14 games, he had 60 tackles, so half as much as Jihad Campbell, 10.5 tackles for loss, so 5 less, 6.5 sacks, so 1.5 more. He was used a little bit differently than Jihad was, so if you were to take a look at both of these defenses and put them side by side, you can see where Jelon Walker was used a little bit more in coverage. He wasn't so much used to get after the passer as often, but he still did. I think that the schemes that both teams run, you really have to examine why they did what they did and why their stats were what they were. And I think that same thing can be said about Shamar Stewart, Nick Scorton, and others that, maybe didn't have as much production. So Jelon Walker's skill set makes him a very strong candidate, in my opinion, for a 3-4 linebacker role, particularly as an outside linebacker. And here's why. Pass rushing ability. He thrives out on the edge. He loves to be on an island. He uses explosive burst, quick first step. He disrupts plays in the backfield, evidenced obviously by 10.5 tackles for loss, 6.5 sacks. He has great versatility, just like Jihad Campbell. He can both play, linebacker position, I think any linebacker position. And yes, you can use him out as a smaller edge rusher, predominantly, I think, a third down specialist, kind of like what the Lions use with James Houston, but obviously two totally different calibers of athletes here. I think that his versatility really makes him adaptable to different schemes. So whatever team selects him, again, I think that we're not so much putting a round peg in a square hole with this one. Same with Jihad. I think that both of these guys have enough versatility, playing experience, where whatever scheme that they jump into, I think that they're going to be okay. if it's not necessarily a similar scheme that they were running in college, yeah, their first year may not be great, right? It could be good, but maybe not great. I think the second year for these guys is going to be huge. Athleticism for Jalon Walker, I think that his speed and agility really allow him to cover ground quickly, makes him very effective in both pass and run defense. Now, we haven't been able to see his agility on display at the Combine or the Pro Days just yet, so a lot of what we're looking at is tape, and where does he align based on that. Physical traits, look, he has it. I think that he's a perfect size for a 3-4 outside linebacker. 6'2", 243 pounds. He's light enough that he can move. He's heavy enough that he can thump, in the run game. And I think that he can shed blocks and get after the ball carrier with ease. Again, scheme fit. I think that, he's the best fit as a Sam linebacker in a 3-4. I think that he'll be able to blitz. I think that he can also set an edge at times on some of the, like if he was getting a tight end, like if he's working the outside, strong side, and he's got a matchup on a tight end, he'll be able to set that edge, no problem. I think that he can disrupt plays no matter where he's at on the field. I think he does have a little bit of coverage limitation right now, but maybe some technique and training at the next level is going to help him get a little bit better. To your point, Eric, he's a 1-year starter, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of work left to do. Pass rushing skills and the ability to set the edge make him an ideal 3-4 linebacker, and I think that's where he's going to end up. If used correctly, I think that he's going to be a game changer quickly. Some of his strengths, like I said, explosive pass rusher, first step, really, really, really good. Evidenced Texas game, 2024. Go watch the Texas game. 3-sack game. So, 6.5 sacks last year, half of them, one game. He got after Texas. Texas is one of the best teams in the conference last year. So, if you want to watch some good tape, that's the tape. Exceptional bend, ankle flexion. I think it really allows him to kind of flatten down around those tackles. He gets really low to the ground. He's versatile, playing as both edge rusher and off-ball linebacker. Closing speed, I think that's backed by his 4.5, 240, which, again, I'm not sure where I got that number from. I seen it. It might have been an old 40 entering college. Can't imagine that it's faster at this point, but if it is a 4.5 40, that puts him in the 94th percentile for linebackers, which is really good. High motor. The guy's constantly trying to press. He leads his team, or he led his team versus Kentucky. So that's another. Obviously, Kentucky's Kentucky, but he led in disruptions in that game. So another good tape to go watch on how disruptive he is. He has weaknesses just like everybody else. He's still developing his instincts as an off-ball linebacker. Hesitates a little bit too much. He needs to be able to just go. He needs to see it, believe it, and go. Struggles to disengage. Plays a little bit too square at times. The limited experience that Eric brought up, only 11 career starts. Might need a little bit of time to develop. And I think that's probably where you're seeing Jahad Campbell as the number 1 overall and Jalon Walker sliding a little bit. He's kind of raw in man coverage, especially against more refined route runners. That's going to take some time to develop too. Draft projection, obviously first round. Again, I could see him going in the top 15. Depending on what happens. I think between these two guys, if they're still available after pick 20, someone's going to have to move up. And someone probably will move up because both of these guys are going to be game changers at the next level in short order. What's his ceiling? I don't think he has one. I don't think either of these guys have a ceiling right now. I think his best strategy is just to hunt the quarterbacks, man. Passing downs, early passing downs, you need to let him loose. Take the leash off and go. You'll probably see a lot of that in his first season, is that he might be a little bit situationally dependent on getting in on third downs to get after the passer while he's refining some of his tools. So that's it on Jalon Walker. And go ahead.
I like what JAC had to say in the chat about Jalon Walker. He says he sounds like a Steeler.
Ooh, man. Hope not.
You're talking about somebody that runs a 3-4. Right there you go.
Yeah. That's at pick 21. He could be. Could be. I think the Steelers are taking a quarterback. I don't know
Eh,
yet. We'll
They
find
might
out at
get
draft night.
Rodgers still.
Do
Who
what?
do they got? Who do the Steelers have at quarterback right now? Kenny Pickett? Or no? I don't know who they have for the Steelers. They'll take Shedeur Sanders if he's still available if the Saints pass.
Possibly. They have Mason Rudolph. They don't have anybody.
Because I know that Shedeur Sanders went to it for a top 30 visit with
Mhm.
the Steelers,
Mhm.
and he said he really liked Coach Tomlin and that he reminded him of his dad.
Yeah, they have the very similar style of, what was the word that he used? Standards, I think is what he said. Some similar style of standards.
Oh, that's cool.
But yeah, I see it. I think that Tomlin, I think that's a good comp to Dion and Tomlin. Hard-nosed, loving guys, want it done right, going to coach you up, going to beat you down. But at the end of the day, it's all love. That's why they're good coaches, you know. All right, number 3, who did you have? Or let's see who PFF had. Bringing it in.
I bet I match.
Do what?
I bet I match him.
Let's see here. Demetrius Knight.
No, I didn't match him.
Demetrius Knight, big board, 52, which puts him in the second round. I think that is, incredibly good if you're a Lions fan and you think that Demetrius Knight's going to help you. I've been very high on Demetrius Knight from first mock. Really love Demetrius Knight's tape. I think that this guy could end up being, I know it's another wild take, he could end up being the best linebacker in this draft early, meaning some of the other guys might take a little bit more time to develop than Demetrius Knight will take. But anyway, PFF, Knight will be one of the oldest prospects in the 2025 NFL draft, but he is a mature player with good processing and fundamentally sound tackling. His run defense angles can be a bit over-aggressive, but you'll take that trade-off due to how well he moves in coverage when pursuing ball carriers. So part of the reason why I think that he could end up being one of the best linebackers early is because of his age. I think he's entering the league at 25 years old. And these other guys are like 21, 22. He's like the Hendon Hooker of linebackers. So I think that is a big drawback for some of these teams taking him earlier is because of his age. You know, you don't see linebackers playing, that position, which, let's just be honest here. They get the crap kicked out of them. You don't see him playing extremely long in the NFL like quarterbacks. It's not like you can come into the league at 25 and play to your 40, right? He's going to come in at 25 and he's going to get through one contract and be, 29, 30 years old. If he's in the league 2 or 3 more years after that, I'd be surprised. So he could be a one contract and done. He could be a contract and a half. You just don't know. What do you got on Demetrius Knight?
I didn't have this. This list is all screwed up for me today.
All right, let me get into him then. So he's the consensus number 3 right now. He's very similar in size to the rest of the guys we've already talked about, 6'2", 245 pounds. His agility, his pro day stuff. Look, he ran a respectable 40-yard dash, which, matter of fact, let me get this guy pulled up. I forgot to grab his agility numbers. Okay, he ran a 4.58, 1.58 10 split, 31.5-inch vertical, 9 foot 10-inch broad. One of the guys that we actually have numbers on. 3-cone drill at 712 and bench press 22 reps. He scored like an even, low 70s as far as athleticism, production, total score. 6'2", 235 pounds. Excuse me. The 32 and 5/8 inch arms is what I love. Guy's got a little bit longer arms and 10-inch hands. Now, NFL.com has him as an eventual starter. I think he's a starter from day one. Just depends on where he lands. this guy's going to be an insanely good backup, no matter what. Again, depending on where he lands. I think that Demetrius Knight is going to be one of the funnest guys to watch. Hopefully just not on Sundays against the Lions. I think he's going to be incredibly good and very quickly. Production, again, while exact seasonal numbers vary a little bit for him, his film shows a playmaker with a very strong first step and a knack at getting to the football or the ball carrier. This guy is a thumper. When he hits, you feel it, you hear it. Let me get up his stats here. So last season, only 2 sacks, 82 tackles, 3 forced fumbles, 1 interception. Again, when I point out the numbers that I love the most about linebackers, it's TFLs, right? It's the forced fumbles. Sacks are, they're okay. Let me pull up his PFF. His profile. So last year, he was in 253 run defense snaps, 289 coverage snaps. Darn near equal, right? His run defense grade was elite at 85.4. His coverage grade, almost elite, 74.9. 11% missed tackle rate, way better than, the average. He's in about the 80th percentile. 7 coverage stops, 22 run stops. He was targeted 24 times. Where he could make up some ground here is in the completion game. Now, he only allowed a 70.8 completion percentage, which is bad. That's not good. But the passer rating allowed 65.1, which is really good. Now, he's a box thumper. Like that's just where he lines up is he's a box linebacker. I think that this guy's ideal scheme is going to be best utilized in a 4-3. He could be a classic Mike linebacker. I think that if he gets a little bit more action here in coverage and develops that skill a little bit better, you could see him playing in an Alex Anzalone style of a linebacker scheme, which it could be Will or Sam. He could do a little bit of both. Not saying that he's an Alex Anzalone replacement by any means, but this guy he loves to be all over the field making plays. Strengths, excellent in processing, instinct, downhill pursuit. The kind of traits that really catch defenses off guard is when this guy, notices what's going on with the offense, he sticks that foot in the ground, he goes. Weaknesses, he can be over aggressive. Just when he's sticking that foot in and going, he gets too aggressive at times, take a little bit of a wrong angle, and it can kind of take him out of the play. However, I do believe very smart, instinctual football player, good football IQ. I think that he's likely to be a first rounder in this draft. But again, I think this draft's going to get a little bit screwed up at the end, and it could push him into the top 35 picks in this draft. So right now I have him as, the consensus big board is 59. I'm going to put him closer to probably 39. I'm going to drop him 20 spots in a good way. I think that he'll be taken early in the second round unless something really happens in this first round and a third linebacker goes. I only see 2 true linebackers going in the first round. But I think these edge conversions to 3-4 linebackers is what's going to screw all that up. And that's why you're going to see less linebackers going in the first round. But Demetrius Knight, man, one of my favorite linebackers of this class. A little bit older, a little bit wiser, and I think that's going to help him in year 1.
Yeah, would it surprise you to hear that on the Beast list, they have Demetrius Knight listed as number 6, and that they think he's going to be a 3rd to 4th round pick. So the Beast list,
I wouldn't be surprised only because of his age.
Yeah,
that I think is the major drawback for him. And if it were me, I don't know about you, Eric, but if you get one really great contract out of the guy, what are you worried about?
Yeah, it does say that he's a 6th-year senior on this as well. So he's got a lot of college experience. So you're really going to have to rely on the tape with that guy.
And plenty of tape out there, that's for sure.
Yep, he should have tons.
Plenty of tape out there. All right, let's get the PFF rolling here. What did they have next? This one I don't agree with, but we'll roll it. Number 4, Carson Swessinger. And if I remember correctly, this was a visit for the Detroit Lions this season. Now, he's a big board 53. Big board, I'm sorry, for Demetrius Knight was 52. Carson Swessinger, UCLA, is light for an NFL linebacker, but his elite processing speed and intelligence give him starter and impact ability as a Mike or a will linebacker for a 4-3 defense. Now, I do like that. Did you have anything on Carson?
Well, Carson is number 2 on the beast list, and he's predicted to be a second-round pick. He did not do a 40-yard dash. He had 9 1/4-inch hands, 31 5/8-inch arms. He had a 77.5-inch wingspan, and he is 22 years old.
Big Blues in the house. For some reason, I can't even chat in my own chat today. Something's not right with YouTube. So anyway, good morning, Big Blue. Carson at number 2? That's crazy.
Yeah.
I didn't even look at the beast list for this yet.
Yeah, I'm gonna compare off of what you're doing with PFF with the big list, because my list got all screwed up.
That's all right. So for me, again, I'll rank these guys at the end, but Carson Swessinger out of UCLA, he's the consensus number 4 for what I've seen. I haven't seen him at number 2. When they say he's a little bit light, he's 225 pounds. I wouldn't say that that's light, but this guy can add 10 pounds easy, and then he's right where he needs to be. He posted a 40-yard dash at 4.7 seconds, which is not great. Not great by any means. Matter of fact, let me bring up the NFL Combine results just so I can talk intelligently here about what happened with the rest of these guys.
Well, Carson, it says he did not participate in the 40.
Let's see here. It's probably a pro day.
Yeah.
Probably a pro day. So he's listed number 2 on NFL.com as far as rankings. And it's because of his next-gen stats. He ranked out as an 81, and Jihad Campbell is number 1 at 82. That's a little interesting. 6'2.5". Got to get that half in there. Now they have him at 242 pounds. So I'm going to take what NFL's saying. If they've got him at 242, how is he light when everybody else has been 243?
Yeah, that's what the Beast has too, is 242.
Yeah, he's not light. He's not light at all. So I don't know where I grabbed that snippet from, but he's definitely not light. 31 5/8-inch arms. I mean, they're good enough. It's not as long as I'd love to see, but 9 1/4-inch hands, pretty solid. The vertical jump for this dude, 39.5 inches. Like nice. He can leap. Fun to watch. He was a walk-on to UCLA. He's they call him a human bloodhound, pairing elite instincts with an understanding of blocking schemes and run tracks. The pursuit speed is average, but his play recognition helps him play fast. Great point. Eric, what do I always say? You can be extremely smart and slow, but you're going to get to the play on time and make a play. You can be extremely fast, maybe not as smart, right? Not as good of a football IQ, but you're just going to run yourself right out of the play. This is a perfect example, and I didn't write it. This is from NFL.com, where they say that his play recognition is elite, helps him get to the play fast, even though his pursuit speed is average. That's exactly what I've been talking about, I don't know, for the last year or so when I try to identify the reasons why players like Brian Branch ran a little bit slower, but his football IQ is so incredibly good that he knows where to be and when to be there and takes the proper angles. It's all about geometry in the NFL. As long as you can take the right angles, your play speed can be a little bit slower. They say he's undersized, which I don't understand because 6'2.5" to 6'3". It doesn't. I mean, come on. John Campbell and Jelon Walker are both at 6'2", 6'3". He's right in the middle of that, and he's at the same weight. So I don't get it. Like, sometimes this stuff doesn't make sense to me at all. He's a sound technician as an open field tackler, bona fide standout on special teams. It's clear to me now, it was clear to me when I watched this film, why the Lions brought him in. Special teams, the guy's going to be an ace. And that's how he'll be able to affect the field early on in his career. But then also being able to step in and become a will linebacker in a 4-3 system is exactly where I have him. I have him as a 4-3 will linebacker, which I think is exactly what the Lions are going to be looking for. We have to remember that Alex Anzalone, I believe, is entering. This is his last year in his contract. Is that correct, Eric?
I believe so. I can look it up here.
And he's our will linebacker. So, if the Lions are looking to bring in a linebacker, which, again, I thought from the very early on stages of doing the mocks, I said that the Lions are probably going to bring in a linebacker. Doesn't have to be early in the process, right? I think that you can get Carson probably on day 2, third round. The Lions are, have a third round pick right now. I don't believe we have a fourth this year, but they're going to have to do some maneuvering, and maybe that trade back that I've been talking about at pick 28 will allow them to stack some more picks, hopefully between, 40 and 50, where we can get into the meat of the draft. But grabbing a guy like, Carson would make sense. I think that he has the elite instincts, which is more important to me than anything, is having the instincts and the football IQ. And he has the strength, right? He's got rare instincts in maneuvering inside and avoiding blocks. He's got great body control and agility in short spaces. He plays fast, even though he runs a little bit slower. He sees run lane developments like a running back. He deciphers play action and mesh point quickly. And he's able to drop his weight and explode laterally as a tackler. Those are all the things you're looking for from a will linebacker, and then also being able to get sideline to sideline. He's not going to have to do that as much with a guy like Jack Campbell on the field. Alex Anzalone does that for us now. But I think that the more that Jack is getting better and better every year, that guy's covering sideline to sideline. I would love to see somebody a little bit faster, but I love his ability. If you can get him in the third round, you've got to do it. At pick 102, I think it would be a sound pick for the Lions.
Yeah, so Alex Anzalone, this is his last year under contract. Next year he has a void year with 1.2 million for next year. So he will be an unrestricted free agent after this season. So we are going to need to get his replacement on the line or start working some deals with Alex next offseason. And I doubt he's going to want to come in much cheaper because his base salary for this year is $6 million with a $1.2 million signing bonus. And then he's got some other little bonuses to go in there. But his total contract is $7.258 million for this year. And it's going to be hard to get him for that kind of number for next year.
Look, I don't think that he's a direct Alex replacement. It's going to be hard to replace a guy like Alex. Alex has got such rare, in my opinion, he's just rarefied air for what a linebacker is. Matter of fact, what are Alex Anzalone's measurements?
I just got away from him.
I think he's like 6'4".
He's a big dude.
I mean, that hair gives him a little bit extra height, but he's 6'3", 241 pounds, 32 1/8 inch arms, 9 1/4 inch hands. He ran a 4.63 40, and Carson's not that much behind that. I mean, does a tenth of a second really matter a whole lot? I think it's the 1.57 split for Alex that makes a difference, right? 30.5 inch vert, 9'8" in the broad for Alex. If I compare that to Carson, Carson just has the 39.5-inch vertical. I don't have a broad or the 40 on him. I bet you I do, though. I have another site that somehow gets all of this information. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Here it is. Okay, so Carson has been all over the map with his 40 time. He's been tracked as low as a 4.54 and as high as a 4.73. So his mean average is a 4.64, which would put him right at Alex Anzalone's 40 time. What I don't have is I don't have a broad jump. I don't necessarily need to see it. I mean, I see how this guy pops and how he's able to move quickly. His wingspan, which again is not reported by a whole lot of sites, but this site that I use, which if you remember and you want to know what the site is, just message me.
Sure.
Let's see. His ape index, 107. So he's got a near elite ape index, which means that he can get long, right, with his arms. Even though his arms aren't extremely long, it's the difference between the breastplate and his fingertips. So I like Carson. He's projected in the second round. I'm projecting him to fall to the third, but early in the third. And I think a lot of that is because of what's going to happen with all these edge rushers and defensive tackles in the second round. Let's see who's next.
Looks like Chris Paul Jr. from Mississippi is next on the PFF list.
Yeah, I like Chris. I think that he has some interesting ability. Let's just put it that way. Paul needs to add some mass to his frame, is what PFF says, but he can eventually become a starting will linebacker in the league thanks to his athleticism and intelligence. Again, that's PFF.
Yep.
Now, Will and Eric say, Eric?
Well, the Beast list has Chris Paul at number 7. They predicted him to be a 3rd to 4th round pick. He's a 4-year junior. He's 6 foot and just a little bit over 6 foot. He's 222 pounds, ran a 4.63 40, 9 3/8 inch hands, 30.5-inch arms, 76.25 wingspan, and he is 22 years old. A couple of his strengths: he's got good balance between caution and urgency in lateral pursuit, and he rarely gets caught in traffic with no course of action. Couple of weaknesses: he lacks ideal size and strength for the position, and then he gets bumped and slowed by climbing blockers.
I don't know about all that. Some of that stuff at the end there that they were saying. I mean, you could almost say that about anybody, right? But
yeah,
he is only 6'1", so he is a little bit short. But how tall is Malcolm Rodriguez?
Yeah, yep, exactly. He's
5'10".
Yeah.
Okay.
That, more like 5'8".
Again, I think that size be damned. If you have elite processing skills, right, and you can see the field, and you know what's going on, I think that you can blend your athleticism with your processing skills, and you are a damn good football player. It obviously has to come alive on the football field. But at 6'1", 222 pounds, okay, now I'm starting to worry a little bit about the weight, right? He's a little bit thin. Where my bigger concern is the arm length. He's below 30 inches. That is a bigger concern for me for a linebacker. And the reason why I say that is let's look at it from the perspective of coverage. Okay, so if you're in coverage, I mean, what is the one thing that a tight end is going to be able to do on you all day? High point the football. Yes, he has a great vertical at 36 inches, and he's going to have to use that all the time. But you know what? There's some times you can't jump straight up as tall as you normally can. When you're running and you have to jump, sideways a little bit, you're not jumping 36 inches. So that's where the longer arms come in play to be able to defend those passes. Okay, so maybe you don't defend the pass and you just make the tackle. Well, that means now you're letting up probably a few more first downs than you really want to be. I like Chris Paul from the instinct that he carries. I think that he has elite processing ability. His 40-yard dash at 4.63. All right, it's Alex Anzalone. That's not terrible, right? Alex has shown that he can make plenty of plays. His production, I think that he's got a detailed stat line. I think that it's also evolving for him. His tape shows a linebacker with excellent special teams value. And I think that he has a penchant for making key tackles in space. He does not get beat in space. I think some of his strengths is he is athletic, even though he's a little bit light in the ass cheeks, if you will. I think he's sharp in his reads, and he's known for a high football IQ. So again, I think that you're blending that high football IQ with the, athleticism that he has that can turn him into a pretty good football player. If you're looking for a guy to come in and just set the world ablaze, I don't think that's Chris Paul. I think that he's a special teamer, and I think that he's a guy that's going to take a couple of seasons to see who he really is going to be. But you can't be mad if he doesn't turn into that next Will starting linebacker for Alex Anzalone. Good backup, absolutely. Starter at the next level, maybe on a team that really needs somebody. But I think for me, Chris Paul is going to be a backup. I think his size is going to limit him a little bit for some teams. But I do think he projects good in a 4-3 defense where he can operate in coverage, probably as a will linebacker. Definitely not a middle linebacker. He's more of a will linebacker for me. He's projected second round. I think this guy is in the third. I think he's in the third round right now. Anything else you want to add on Chris?
No. Just that his prospect grade was a 6.18, and they have a few combine things for him. He had a broad jump of 9 foot 9 inches. His vertical was 36, so he's not putting up those elite numbers. 10-yard split was 1.62. I can't remember what your number was for one. For like, I remember the edge rushers was you wanted it sub 1.6.
You're talking the 10 split?
Yeah, the 10 split.
Yeah, I love the 1.61, 1.62 or better.
Okay, so he's 1.62, so he's right on the verge.
Yeah, I think that he's got good initial bursts, which is what that 10-yard split shows. Long speed may not be there, but then again, it's that 10 yards that matter the most, right? It's the 10 yards from the hash to the sideline. It's the 10 yards from hash to hash. It's getting 10 yards from, a proper angle away from making a tackle. What I will say is his last year at Mississippi, Ole Miss, they were stacked this last year. Run defense grade, 84.6. Pass rush grade, 84. Coverage grade, 78.1. Missed tackle rate, phenomenal. The guy doesn't miss tackles in space, 4.5%. Needs some help in coverage. This is my worry about him being a will linebacker, which is where I think he projects the best. 81.8% is what he gave up. One of the higher passer ratings at 93.2. So he has some work to do. Again, I think he's a special teamer. I think he's a third-round pick right now. I couldn't even imagine if he slips into the fourth round, someone would be very lucky to get him if he does slip that far.
Yep.
All right, let's get into the next guy.
Jeffrey Bassa from Oregon.
Bassa is a gentleman that I believe I watched pop at the Senior Bowl, if I'm not mistaken, or it could have been the Shrine Bowl. I get those two confused because they were like 2 days apart from each other. And my notes are terrible. So Bassa is an intriguing former safety who now has a home as a linebacker. Despite his lower weight for the position, he is not shy about making contact or doing the dirty work. He is a smooth mover, but does lack some twitch, which can be mitigated with continued improvement in anticipation. He's a vocal leader from Oregon. He could be a nice coverage linebacker in any scheme, according to PFF. Big board rank 108. Eric, what do you got?
So the Beast Report has him at number 4. They have him between a third and fourth round pick. He's a 4-year senior, over 6 foot, 228 pounds. He ran a 4.62 40, had 9 5/8 inch hands, 31 5/8 inch arms, 78 3/4 on the wingspan, and he's 22 years old. And then a little bit about him. Let's see. His 10-yard split was 1.59, which is really good.
He's cooking.
And then he had a vertical jump of 38.5 inches, a broad jump of 9'10", and he did the bench press 21 times. So that's pretty good for a guy his size. Looks like last year he was an honorable mention All Big Ten Conference. He played in all 14 games with 12 starts, 54 tackles, 2.5 tackles for loss, 1.5 sacks, and 2 pass breakups with 2 forced fumbles. Those are some pretty good stats. So this says for his strengths, he's got good communication to teammates before the snap. He played inside backer to help get the best players on the field. And then his weaknesses, muscular, but still smaller for the interior, and then much more robotic than instinctive in the run game.
Who was that by? The Beast?
And that's by the Beast, yeah.
Okay, so, and by the way, Trace did confirm that I brought up Bassa during the Senior Bowl. She's got a memory like an elephant, I swear. Thank you, Trace. So look, the 4.63 40-yard dash, solid, right? The 1.59 10-yard split, great. 38.5-inch vertical jump, he's a leaper. And the 9-foot, 10-inch broad tells me that he's got some good initial burst and lateral quickness. The broad and the vert, we talk about it often. You know, this is what really pops on tape when you watch these guys immediately making their first drive towards the football or immediate reaction on a play. It's those two things that show up to me immediately, like how quickly are they reacting and are their legs moving in that direction? How quick are they, you know, is that initial pop and burst? And that's what those two numbers mean to me. So this is another guy just like Chris Paul that does not meet the height requirement for a lot of teams, I think. But I think that, again, height is subjective. So at 6'1", 232 pounds, he's right in that same, you know, area of Chris Paul. He's kind of right in that same area of Carson Schlesinger. You know, all three of those guys are a little bit light as far as height and weight, according to multiple other analysts. He's got good arm length at 31 3/8 inch and good hands at 9 1/4. What I had figured out for him is that being a conversion from safety to backer, could he just go back to being a safety? Does he have enough in the hips to be able to play safety? Does he have enough of speed to play safety? I think he's lacking speed to be a safety. And I think that's why he converted to linebacker. But being a former safety, obviously he has a little bit more of a better recognition of what's going on, you know, from a passing concept. So that's great, right? Being able to recognize passing plays and reacting to them and covering the routes and identifying the routes and being able to jump some of the routes, I think is what he possesses best of anything that he does. He does show a little bit of slick movement. The 40, again, I think it was good. You know, that 1.59 split is what accentuated it for me. That will help his coverage ability is that initial pop and burst and getting right after the receiver, or the tight end, or the running back leaking out of the backfield, running a route. Production, his numbers are not gaudy, but his transition from safety to linebacker really highlights the smart instincts and leadership that he displayed on the field. I don't know why I wasn't able to find. Let me see if I can find it now. Trying to find his tackles for loss and his sacks and all of that. Either I just missed it, or I didn't see it, or I forgot to write it down. 34 tackles last year, 13 assisted, 5 missed tackles. Why is nothing showing up for me on sacks?
This says he had 1.5 sacks.
What about his TFLs, though?
Tackles for loss, 2.5.
Okay. I mean, so not great production, right? But again, I'm going to throw it out there, just like I did with Shamar Stewart. Sometimes production isn't everything, right? Sometimes you're the unselfish guy. Shamar Stewart, 1.5 sacks over his career, but Danielle Hunter, same thing. And look at Danielle Hunter today. So I'm not going to box somebody in based on production. Strengths, I think that he's exceptional in coverage. I think he's a smooth mover. His ability to anticipate the play, I think, again, is headlined by him being a former safety. Weaknesses, sometimes he lacks a little bit of burst, a little bit of contact strength. I think he needs to bulk up a little bit. He needs to add some strength to be able to take on some of these bigger tight ends. Ideal scheme fit, I think he's going to fall back towards a 3-4 defense, kind of that hybrid linebacker safety role used in the bigger packages, nickel dime packages is probably where he's going to get the majority of his opportunity, and a special teamer. I think he's going to be a specialist. He could be a third down coverage specialist in a 4-3 system. Either way, I think the third down is the down that he gets in. Draft projection, I have him as a third-round pick right now. I don't think he's going to make second round at all. I have him in the third round firmly right now for somebody. All right, number 7. Let's see what PFF says about number 7.
They have Barrett Carter.
Okay, Barrett Carter, big board rank 133. While he needs to get stronger, Carter is an athletic, versatile defender who can be a valuable chess piece for a defense as a weak side linebacker. Eric, what did you have?
So the Beast List has him at number 9. He is projected to be a 4th round pick. He's a 4-year senior, 6 foot, 232, 4.63 he ran, 9 1/4 inch hands, 32 3/8 inch arms. So he's got nice long arms, 78 75 5/8 wingspan, and he's 22 years old. At the combine, he did the vertical jump at 34.5. His broad jump was 9'8", and his 20-yard shuttle was 4.41. So there's only a few things on him. They have him projected as a prospect grade of 6.25 at NFL.com. And let's see, last year he was 3rd team Associated Press All-American, 1st team All-ACC, and he was a finalist for the Butkus Award, the nation's top linebacker. He started all 14 games with 82 tackles, 10.5 tackles for loss, 3.5 sacks, and 7 pass breakups in 2024. So some of his strengths, he's a prototypical range and athleticism to patrol the field, and he has a skill set to stack up impact plays around and behind the line of scrimmage. Weakness, his instincts and diagnosis success are just average. So his instincts are kind of lacking according to this site.
Well, this guy has played 2,430 snaps at the college level. That's a ton of snaps. He has a great experience. I really didn't understand how he could be a front runner for the Butkus Award as the nation's top linebacker, and he's the 7th rated linebacker in this class.
Yeah, and Beast has him at 9.
Yeah, and when you look at his, height, weight, all that good stuff, I think that's the reason why. He's in the 18th percentile for height at 6 foot. His weight is 231. Obviously, he needs to do something there. He has elite wingspan, and his APE score is 1.09, which is elite. So he is long from, to the fingertips, which can help him in coverage. 40-yard dash at 4.63 seems to be the consensus for everybody this year. Everyone's running in these low 4.6s. Not many guys are running in the 4.5s. Vertical at 34.5 inches, good, right? Bench at 22, average. Broad at 116, below average. So his burst, his pop may suffer a little bit, but I think that his overall ability and agility is good. The height's a little concerning here. Again, I'll throw the Malcolm Rodriguez into the pot. He's played incredibly well, and no one gives a crap that he's 5'10". He plays like he's 6'3". If you're a smart, instinctual football player, that will lead your game more than anything else. His film shows a linebacker with prodigious potential. I think that he's an early down disruptor. Even if his raw numbers don't jump off the sheet, I think that this guy can work his way in. I'm a little bit surprised that NFL.com has him as an eventual starter. I think he's going to be a really good rotational piece, more of a backup, probably a specialist, but we'll see. It's going to take him a couple of years, I think, to get acclimated to the NFL. He is athletic and versatile. He does shine in the run game. He's got really good lateral movement. He can make plays in space, just like everybody else, but I think everyone else does it a lot better. He needs to add power. So his speed to power right now is not translating on a lot of the tape that I saw. He gets caught up on second level blocks. He can't shake his way out of it, and that's where he loses ground in the run game. I think that his ideal scheme would be a weak side linebacker. I think that's also what the Beast said or PFF said. Weak side linebacker in a 4-3 scheme. His speed and his instincts can be maximized there. I expect him to be a 3rd round pick. I know a lot of these other sites have him as a 2nd rounder. I don't see 5 or 6 linebackers going in the 2nd round. I just don't. I think that he's a 3rd rounder at best. Is he possible for the Lions? I doubt it. Anything else you want to add, or we'll get into the next one?
Let's go to the next.
Jack Kaiser, Notre Dame, PFF big board 138. They decided to not write anything at all. So, what did Eric write? Or what did the Beast write?
Well, the Beast has Jack Kaiser at number 12. They have him between a 4th and a 5th round pick. He's a 6th-year senior, and he broke the record for the most games played ever at Notre Dame with 70 games played. He's 6'1.5", 229, ran a 4.67, 9 1/8 inch hands, 30 5/8 inch arms. So far, he has the shortest arms of any of them. 75 5/8 on the wingspan, and he is 24.5 years old. Now, NFL.com says that he's a 6-year senior with good football intelligence and immediate 4-phase special teams value. Kaiser will be 25 years old in September with average physical attributes, but he's been productive and consistent. And then for his weaknesses, it says below average athletic ability and explosiveness, and not much shock and shed in his hands for take-ons.
So for me, look, Jack Kaiser, I don't have him in the top 12. Is that where you said the Beast had him?
The Beast had him at 12.
Yeah, I have him more probably in that 13, 14, 15 range, probably closer to 14 is probably where I'll put him in. He's definitely not in the top 10, even though today's about top 10. I think PFF got this one wrong. Look, this guy's all heart all day. You can't say anything less about him. All heart all day. Now, unlike some of the other linebackers, he wasn't afraid to go and test. 6'2" is what was reported. What did the Beast have, Matt?
Let's see.
I have 6'2".
Yeah, they have 6'1.5".
Yeah, so this is a roundup. 6'2", 231 pounds, 9-inch hands, so a little bit on the smaller side, but 9-inch hands are still big hands. 40 time, 4.62. Again, right in that same area that everyone else has been running. 4.62, 4.63. Let me see what NFL.com has. They have 6'2", 231 as well. And they have nothing reported for his agility scores. But I have some agility scores here. So 75 and 5/8 inch wingspan. That's not great. So when you compare that to his height at 6'2", he's probably going to be in that 1.02, 1.01. Yeah, he's 1.02. So it's not great. His ape index is not solid. Vertical at 34.5 inch. I mean, he can leap, right? I think that's really good. Elite score in the 3-cone drill. This guy can move around the cones. Like this is what proved to me that he's able to move in space, that he has really good balance to the ground. His shuttle at 4.20, better than average. I mean, he's up in near the elite scores there at 4.20 in the shuttle. Broad jump at 117. I mean, he's in the 49th percentile. Bench is solid for his size at 20 reps. I'm sure he probably could have pumped out another one there. Overall, I mean, he's like a mid-80s, as far as rating, which is not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. I think what we see with this linebacker class this year is you have like 6 or 7 guys that are like even. And it's really hard to separate them because they're like even for what they've put together as far as height, weight, speed, intangibles on and off the field is going to be the main separator, and then their instincts, their raw athletic ability and their instincts. Those are going to be the separators because everything else is almost the same. As far as a draft profile for me, look, I think he has exceptional tackling technique. 4% missed tackle rate over the past 3 seasons at Notre Dame. He wraps with proper form. This is another guy that I would love to get Paul Farrington's, take on and Big Blue's take on, because this guy, obviously, he did something right to be able to stick with Notre Dame. He diagnoses run plays with veteran savvy, which, again, if you can diagnose, and see what you hit, I mean, that's half the battle, right? Uncanny ability to beat blockers to the spot. He takes on blocks with effective hands, active hands, good extension, even though he's got a little bit of the shorter arm syndrome. Displays technical refinement, processes complex offensive concepts rapidly. Look, Notre Dame is known for cerebral football players, and that's exactly what Kaiser is. Very cerebral football player. Brings a little bit of a pop as a blitzer. I don't think he's going to be a blitzer at the next level, but in the college ranks, he was. 4-phase special teams demon, nearly 1,000 snaps of experience in special teams. So if you're looking for an immediate thumper in the special teams game, he's it. So could he be a Detroit Lion? Absolutely. I think that this guy could be taken probably in the 4th round, which I don't believe, again, the Lions have a 4th round, but I could see Brad packaging up, 5th, 6th round pick to move up to get him if he's available. I like what he offers from a special teams perspective, but I think the Lions are looking for a starter. They need a starter that can take over for Alex Anzalone. And this is not it. So can you add some guys, to the special teams room? Yeah, you could. But there's only 53 spots on a football team. And a guy like this, you can't put on the practice squad. He's going to get poached. Runs the defense like a coach on the field. So if you want to compare him to another football player on the Lions, it would be Jack Campbell from a cerebral perspective. Someone that is an absolute leader on the football field, knows what he's doing, can command, a defense and put him in the right position to win. All those are great. Limited weaknesses for him. So athletic traits, his frame, it's all a little bit below average. We know that. Sometimes he gets engulfed by offensive linemen when they latch onto him. Age is a concern, just like Demetrius Knight. He's 25 years old, or going to be. Coverage skills is a liability for him. He's not projecting great as a coverage linebacker. Lacks true sideline to sideline hustle, and I think that's evidenced by his speed. The film doesn't lie with Kaiser, though. What you're getting is a throwback linebacker who excels against the run, but will face challenges in today's pass-happy NFL. If this was, the 80s, 90s, Chris Spielman type football player is what I would say he would have been. But in today's game, you've got to be able to be good against coverage. I just don't see that for him right now. But I love him. I think he's a great dude. I really do. Sometimes good guys win. Next guy they have is Kobe King. Penn State, big board 166. They failed to write anything on him. Again, they just didn't care, apparently.
Yep. So he's number 9 on this list. The Beast has him at number 8. And they say he's going to be a 4th-round pick. He's a 4th-year junior. He is 6 foot and just over a half. He's 243, ran a 4.67 in the 40, has 9.5-inch hands, 31.25-inch arms, 78 5/8 on the wingspan, and he is 22 years old. And then a little bit more about Kobe King. Oh, let's see. He did not do anything at the combine. That is put down. And in 2024, he was a 2nd team All Big Ten. He started all 16 games with 97 tackles, 8.5 tackles for loss, with 3 sacks, 1 pass breakup, and 1 forced fumble. So
did you have TFLs in there and sacks?
Yes. Yep. So tackles for loss were 8.5, 3 sacks, 1 pass breakup, and 1 forced fumble in 2024.
1 PBU.
Yep.
And how many forced fumbles?
1.
1. Yeah.
So some of his strengths: he's a prototypical big Mike linebacker build with a dense muscular frame. He's got good eye balance between his keys and his action in the backfield. Some weaknesses: climbing blocks find him and impede his lateral pursuit. Success rate diminishes when forced to chase runners wide.
So missed tackle percentage, which Jack brought up, 11.8%. That he's probably in the 65 percentile. So it's not great. It's better than average, though. So he is okay in that perspective. It needs to get better. My main concern for him is the 90% completion rate. That just can't happen. I mean, he's tied for the 654th worst in the FBS for completion percentage. He was targeted 30 times. They caught 27. That's not good. Passer rating allowed 126. Where did they have him on the Beast? Did you say 8?
Or 8, yeah, number 8.
I just don't get it. I have him way outside at number 15. And it's primarily because of what we're seeing here with completion percentage, passer rating allowed, height, weight, speed. When you look at this guy at 6'1", 236 pounds, he's on the shorter end of, the last 6 or 7 prospects that we've talked about, the last 3 or 4 prospects that we talked about, they're in that lower end of the height, weight, and speed. 31.25-inch arms is good. 9.5-inch hands is good. His wingspan, did you see his wingspan?
Let me see here.
Normally I would have all this up, but I've got one section of my sheet that is not done.
I just got to find him here.
I've got it. 78 5/8.
Yep.
78 5/8. So his wingspan, his ape index is going to be fairly good because he's on the shorter end of it. 1.08, which is elite, right? So that means he can get longer with his arms as needed. I'm just not impressed. I'm not impressed with how he's terrible in coverage. So for me, that puts him as a Mike linebacker in a 4-3 system. He's not good enough to be on the outside in a 3-4. His coverage ability is not great. And I think that he's going to have to figure out a way to make himself a better performer to be able to earn some reps. Being a Mike linebacker, you have to be the quarterback of a defense. And I think that for him, he's going to be a special teamer for sure, and he's going to be a backup for a long time. He's going to take a long time to improve at the next level. My quick breakdown on him, I'll try to be quick. So get my sheet open. So, not like I said, not great in the height, weight, speed area. 4.63 40. Look, if you're going to be undersized, if you're not going to be great in coverage, you have to be faster on the football field. And he's the same 40 rate as everybody else that we've been talking about. He's not separating himself. Bench press, yeah, knocked it out the park. I mean, he's one of the tops, in this class as far as strength. with 26 reps. Broad was not sexy. His vertical, as reported, let's see, is not reported. I thought I had it. So that's not good. I don't know what his vertical is. You didn't see it anywhere, right?
Nope.
I didn't see it anywhere either.
Yeah,
I thought I had it.
They didn't have anything that he did.
It's my next guy that I had the 40 on. Overall, he's somehow an 83 out of 100, which was better than the previous two guys that we spoke about. I just don't agree. I think that people are missing the boat on this guy in a bad way. He's a Detroit-bred guy, so he's a hometown guy, right? He's Penn State molded. He played in Cass Tech, so obviously he's known, right, in the Detroit area. I don't think that gives him a link to the Lions at all. His scouting report to me would say this: he's got great run-stopping instincts. You can forget about him in coverage. He's a downhill thumper. I love it. I love the fact that he brings some serious thunder into his tackles. His missed tackle percentage, like we highlighted earlier, it's not great. It's better than average. Outstanding stack and shed ability with guards and fullbacks. I think that he uses pretty good hand technique to be able to get off of the blocks. He's a natural defensive quarterback, right, who orchestrates pre-snap adjustments with veteran savvy. That's where you could see him as a Mike linebacker. Plays with controlled aggression in the box, reliable tackler, but that's about it. That's really all I got on the guy is run defense. So huge liability against the pass. My weaknesses, obviously, number one, coverage. It's a huge weakness. Big work in progress for him. When he's forced to flip and run downfield, he's just not athletic enough to stick with the tight ends and the running backs. Straight line speed is limited. His pass rush toolkit is non-existent, and I think that his change of direction ability is clunky. Remember watching Aiden in his first video where he's kind of herking and jerking? Yep. Right? That's Kobe King to me. And I'm not trying to be negative against the guy. I just don't see him as high as everybody else. I got him as a 15th best linebacker in the class. That's where I'm at. Sorry. Can't be positive on everybody. All right, number 10, according to PFF, is not Cody. Well, it's the other Cody. Cody Simon out of the best college in the Big Ten. No, I'm just kidding. Simon is a traditional inside linebacker who could play best in a 3-4 system with a fellow inside linebacker next to him. I don't know what the hell that means. His length and what does that mean? What does that mean? His length and overall athletic limitations likely make him a rotational and reserve linebacker who plays soundly to round out a depth chart. That should have been exactly copied and pasted right up here. That's what I see for Kobe King. All right, Eric, what do you got?
All right. So Cody Simon, correct?
Simon,
yeah.
Yep.
Cody Simon
says.
Yeah. So let's see where they had him on the Beast. So Cody Simon was number 11 on the Beast. He's projected to be a 4th to 5th rounder. He's a 5th-year senior, 6'1", almost 6'2", and he's 232 pounds. He ran a 4.6 flat on the 40. He's got 10-inch hands, kind of on the bigger side, 31 3/4-inch arms, 75 7/8 on the wingspan, and he is 23 years old. And let's see what he did in 2024. He was a 3rd-team All Big Ten Conference, led the team with 112 tackles, 12.5 tackles for loss, with 7 sacks. He was a team captain. He was the Rose Bowl defensive MVP with a team-high 11 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, and 2 sacks in the playoff win over Oregon. National championship game defensive MVP with a team-high 8 tackles and a tackle for loss. He started 15 games for the national champions with 7 pass breakups and a forced fumble. Let's see here. So inside linebacker with a stout frame, good toughness, and adequate talent. Simon plays with decent instincts and awareness to diagnose the action. A couple of his strengths: he has good size for the interior with a muscled build, and then he gets to his work with adequate recognition and quickness. A couple of his weaknesses: he has below average chase speed to the perimeter, and he turns and runs past his leverage in wide pursuit at times.
Okay, I'm trying to pull up some info on the guy.
He's got some serious credentials, though, with this last year at Ohio State. He did pretty well.
Yeah.
But from the year before, he went from 57 tackles to 112 tackles. So that's quite the jump.
All right, I'm just going to bring in his PFF draft profile because I think this is one that we want to talk about. So Cody Simon, for me, and Eric, if you could refresh my memory on tackles for loss, sacks, PBUs, forced fumbles.
Yeah, I can do that.
All right, so Cody Simon is number 10 on my list. And so I think that I do agree with PFF here that number 10 fits. 90.6 run defense grade. I mean, just insanely good, right? 11.5% missed tackle rate. So better than average, not great, but good. Coverage grade, 72.7, still needs some work. Pass rush grade, elite, 80.6. 87.7 overall PFF grade. When you're playing in the Big Ten and you're going up against teams like Michigan State, Iowa, Oregon last year, Nebraska, Penn State, Purdue, Northwestern, Indiana, Michigan, Tennessee. They played Tennessee last year, Texas. Tennessee, I think. Marshall, Western. So really good competition that he faced last year. 15 games played, 802 snaps, 87 pass rush snaps. So he wasn't utilized a ton as a pass rusher. Run defense snaps were almost equal to coverage. 67 tackles, only 13 missed tackles. I would love to see that number be a little bit better, but when you're at 802 snaps, things are going to happen, right? As far as playing up on the D-line, he was a slot guy, 110 snaps, but primarily down in the box, 649 times. Passer rating could use some work, right? I think that his coverage ability could use a little bit of work. He forced 4 incompletions. I love it. Run stops, 25. Coverage stops, 20. Now, coverage stops, he was tied for 11th, which is really solid. Run stops, even though it's tied for 185th, that's still a really great number. Receptions and targets, like I said, completion percentage and that could use some work. Eric, do me a favor and recap real quick on those stats that I asked for.
So he led the team with 112 tackles, 12 and a half tackles for loss, and 7 sacks. And that was during the regular season. And then in the Rose Bowl, he had 11 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, and 2 sacks.
He had 112 tackles last year?
That's what it says over the whole season.
Yeah, I have maybe 112 lifetime. I had 67 last year, according to PFF.
Yeah, this was what it's showing for 2024. So maybe this is flawed. This is from NFL.com too. So.
Oh, was there anything in the Beast?
Let me look at the Beastie Beast. Oh, I might have closed it already.
Oh,
I'll have to get back in.
Yeah, if you download it as a PDF, you don't have to put the password anymore.
Oh,
okay. So let me just pull up his overall stats here. Yep, 2024 they do show 112 total. So how's PFF off by 50 plus tackles? That's insane to me. But the reason why I wanted you to bring this up, whether it's 112 or whether it's 67, both great numbers. The numbers that I cared most about were the 7 sacks, the 12 and a half TFLs. This guy has a knack for getting in the backfield. 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery, passes defensed, 7. So even though his coverage ability is not the greatest, he still has a knack for getting his hand up on the ball, knocking it away. And then as far as tackles for loss, like I said, his sacks, he finds his way into the backfield. Tackles for loss, I've mentioned it before. It means everything to me, more so than sacks. Wingspan, he's got an elite ape index of a 1.09. He ran a 40 in sub 4.5 or sub 4.6 at 4.59, one of the fastest in the draft of this year. His split. I don't have the split. Do you have the split? I don't know why the split's not in here.
Let me see.
There's nothing on NFL.com.
Nope, nothing at all.
So
Yeah.
the numbers that I have are, numbers that were pulled from various other times throughout his career. The easy thing to say about this guy is that he has a knack for the football. He moves like a safety as a linebacker. The 4.5 40 time, it translates into sideline to sideline range. His height at 6'2", look, it's better than average. I think it's just fine. His weight at 229 could use some help. He needs to add about 10 pounds at least. And I don't think that he's going to sacrifice his speed because of his ape index. I think that his frame is going to allow him to be able to add a little bit more weight. Now let's run through a little bit of strength, the weaknesses, and we'll be done with this guy. So natural run defender, evidenced by the way that he was able to rack up sacks and TFLs and 112 tackles. I mean, that's incredible. Instinctive gap recognition. The guy knows where the play is going. He consistently takes proper angles and arrives on time. Blitzes with controlled violence, not chaos, but violence. He knows where he's going. He times his rushes masterfully. He converts speed to power, like one of the better linebackers in this draft. His speed to power transition, it's effortless. Disruptive force when he's attacking downhill, brings the hammer. Known how Alex Anzalone's the hammer. This guy is going to be the next hammer in the NFL. Rare comfort in coverage. He needs help, in my opinion. He's comfortable, but he's not great. His instincts really shine on critical downs, which is, again, something that I regard a little bit more so than other things. When you're on the clock and it's time to perform, you got to punch the clock. And he does that almost every single time. Tackling can kind of be feast or famine as he is so aggressive. Yeah, he racks up the tackles. Sometimes he misses a few here or there, but his miss percentage, not alarming. Limited starting experience, only 15 starts in 44 games, but he has experience nonetheless. Overaggression leads to vulnerability and misdirection at times, or on misdirection, right, out of the backfield, and needs a little bit more refinement in stack and shed techniques, using his hands. I think that he's still learning how to disengage and use his hands to his advantage, which I could say that about everybody. I think that just about every edge rusher and linebacker, defensive tackle, they all need handwork. Every single one of them. And I think that they're going to get their class at the next level. I don't think teams spend enough time on it, to be honest with you. I think that they need to spend way more time on hand technique. And maybe I'm wrong because I'm not there, right? I'm not there watching what they're doing. So I just see it on tape, what they don't do. But anyway, I like this kid. Cody Simon, man, he is my number 10, and he might even move up my list when I post it later on tonight. I like him. I think he's a little bit raw, but again, I think that he has the ability at the next level already. I think that he's going to come in and lock it down. I didn't see anything on special teams for him, though, for some reason. I didn't see anything. Like, as far as stats, I mean, he obviously played special teams, but I didn't see his stats for special teams.
Yeah, it's not showing anything on the Beast either. I did find some of his pro day workout stuff, though. He ran a 4.6 40. His 10-yard split was 1.54.
Beautiful. That's one of the fastest splits in the draft for a linebacker. 1.54 is moving. That is moving. Man. Detroit Lion written all over him.
I don't exactly like Ohio State players or Ohio State, but I'm taking the college out of it. I'm kind of falling for this kid. All the stuff he did, he was the MVP of the the defensive MVP in the national championship game, and he blew it out of the water in the Rose Bowl. So hey, let's take a look at this kid.
Well, that's the difference between separating Saturdays and Sundays on this channel is, yeah, we all have our favorite college teams, but you don't hear me talk about it very often because I think that we have to keep it separated. You know, Saturdays and Sundays have their place, and it's kind of hard to give you good analysis if you're constantly mixing the waters. You know what I mean? I don't want brackish water. I want to have good, clean, clear ideology here. So I like Cody Simon. Look, there's not a Michigan linebacker in this draft that's ranked as high. Last year we had a few. Maybe Josiah Stewart, right? I have Josiah Stewart becoming a 3-4 outside linebacker. So I think that he is one that I also like a little bit later in the draft. And then here's another odd one for you. There's been some conversation about Oluwafemi Oladejo. And for me, I have this guy potentially transitioning to linebacker at the next level. So 6'3", 259 pounds would be pretty heavy. Not extremely heavy, but fairly heavy for a linebacker. But he has all of the other elite skills that you want for a linebacker. Now, it's 4.7 40, not the greatest, but I think that we've learned it's not the slowest either. Like, we've got other guys running that same speed, but they don't have the broad that this guy has. They don't have the vert that this guy has. He's got elite wingspan. I see Oluwafemi Oladejo becoming a linebacker at the next level. Could be a 3-4 outside linebacker, which will still be utilized as, an off-ball, outside rusher to the quarterback. But could he transition into a 4-3? I don't know. I guess you're going to have to wait and see what I write up later. But he's one to keep your eye on as far as a team that may take a risk on him to become a linebacker versus a defensive end at the next level. I think he's a little undersized to be a defensive end. That's why I have him making the transition. All right, final 30, man. What do we got coming up on deck for tomorrow? I'm not sure. Other than edge rushers, we'll cap the defense off with edge rushers tomorrow. Did we do defensive tackles yet?
No.
Maybe defensive tackles is the next day.
I can't remember.
I don't know. We got 1 or 2 days left of defense, and then we're switching to offense. So what's on your mind for today? Anything you want to share? And then we're going to wrap it up.
Not too much. Had a great time at the Panther game. I'm going to try today, if I get some time, to put together a recap of the weekend's games and of the Panthers game. And I'll try to get that put together sometime today.
All right. Let me see what everyone's saying in here.
But after doing this little exercise, I really like the last kid we were talking about.
Yeah, I think that Cody Simon has I think he's getting passed over.
But why?
I don't know. I don't know. All I can tell you is just watch the tape on the guy. I think that he has a unique blend of ability. Yes, he still needs some refinement, but who doesn't? Who doesn't? I think that when you look at PFF's board and I've seen other guys like, what was his name? Hold on. A guy that we didn't talk about was Q Robinson. I think that there's a spot for him. Jay Higgins. We didn't talk about him. I like Jay. I think he's a little undersized. Kareem Reed, one of the guys that I absolutely loved. Again, it was either Shrine or Senior Bowl. Absolutely loved what Kareem Reed did. Utah Ute. Look, he popped off the page, but he's short. He just doesn't have the size. There's plenty of other linebackers in this draft that are not going to get drafted that could end up making their way to the Lions as far as UDFAs. But I don't think that that's what the Lions are looking for for replacement, right? To be able to back up Alex Anzalone. And I'm not saying that the Lions won't re-sign Alex, but I think that we have to be realistic here. What is Alex going to command for a contract? Barnes just got $25 million. You better believe Alex is going to get more. It'll probably be his last contract. Depends how much longer he wants to play in the NFL. So I think the Lions need to find a replacement, at least for at least for Alex Anzalone right now. I hope that they didn't make a mistake with Barnes, and I hope that he really steps up this year. Last year he was hot early, but we just didn't get to see it all. So, all right, we'll get into it tomorrow. I'll put my refined list on linebackers up tonight. I will also put the refined top 5 for my edge rushers. I think you already noticed 2 of them that were not in 6 through 10. Well, how did they make the top 5? Nobody has these 2 players in the top 5, but I think I did it a little bit differently, and I might even have a top 6 in a top 5. I know it doesn't make sense, but we'll talk about it tomorrow. So you guys have a great day. Go and probably go Detroit Lions. We'll see you guys up and at it tomorrow at 8 a.m.
Yeah, 1 2 1 2. 1 2 1 2. Mic check. Hey, can y'all hear me out there? Hey. Against all odds. 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 Against all odds.